What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's the return of the Rad Dudes. Cody, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm excited to be back. I'm happy to talk about this. This is we always talk about, or people talk about buddy cop movies, but they don't actually really get into a certain side of these buddy cop movies. There are some wacky ones out there, and just because they're wacky doesn't mean that they're bad. These are a lot of fun, and I think some of these are going to be people have never heard of, but they definitely need to check out.
Yeah, man, I agree. It's one of those genres, like, when we do these shows, we like to kind of go off and do some different stuff. Like we talked about, obviously we do a lot of 80s and 90s related stuff. We talked about the lost, genre of, the erotic thrillers and thriller movies that we went through from the 90s a couple months back. And then all of a sudden now we were kind of talking, I was like, we just had the release of things like Beverly Hills Cop and all this stuff. And buddy cop movies were like a staple in the 80s and 90s. I feel like they were coming out all the time. So much so that like they literally made the weirdest ones because that genre was so popular. And what they started to do, I noticed, is like they started trying to mix things like, oh, well, the show Dinosaurs is popular. Jurassic Park's popular. Yeah. Buddy cop movies are popular. Let's freaking splice this shit together and make our movie. Like, there's so many wacky ones. So when me and you were like, let's talk about this, but let's just talk about the regular ones because we could be here all night. Let's try to like get into the weeds and find the weirdest, wackiest ones that we can find. And it took us a while to narrow down 10, but I think this 10 is a good 10. But there are a couple that we can throw out there as like honorable mentions to you guys. And if there's any in the chat that you guys want to bring up, they may or may not be on our list. But before we just throw out some of the honorable mentions that didn't make the 10, let's see who's in the house right now, guys. Please come in, say what's up. I'll get to you, and we'll answer your questions first. Then we'll get into some honorable mentions, and then we'll start dipping through some of this top 10 and talk about these 10 movies. And like Cody said, I guarantee there's some on here that you guys have like never heard of.
There was one I never heard of until I met you, and then I watched it, and I'm glad I did. It's on the list, so we'll get to that.
Yeah, they're wacky, but man, they are fun as hell. I will say that. I'm looking around at my list right here, and I'm like, I don't think any of these were like bad. Like they were odd, but they weren't like I would be like I would never watch that one again. Like I'm actually looking at these back. I'd probably watch all these again.
Yeah, I mean, critically, they're going to be destroyed, but people like us, these are our jam.
100%. What up, John Doe Juggalo? What is going on? Kevin Kruger in the house. What's up, man? Making a blockbuster night. Stacy, what's going on? Gora Tiger, what's up, dude? Oh, geez, we're talking about Vincent. What out of print titles do I think will be on Vincent sale tomorrow? Dude, I have no idea. I mean, maybe that Amityville box, maybe Showgirls. I don't know. Sadly, there's not much out there besides like things like Vice Academy or whatever that I think I would need. And it is kind of crazy when I start going through some of those sales lists and be like, yeah, I paid like double every time.
I know. that I know, and there were some of them I was like, man, I haven't even opened mine yet.
100%. So I don't know. All I will say is keep your eyes on it tomorrow because if anything comes out as cool as Rad, I mean, dude, that thing sold out in like less than an hour. 1,000 copies less than an hour. Think about that.
I know. That's a lot of money, and I think that to me, I feel like that was the biggest title. Or do you think they're waiting till Monday?
I don't know what else they have that would be bigger because Rad was like the fastest sellout, before Vinegar Syndrome was really even as popular as it is now. So to see that came back, I think the only thing, like, it didn't have a slipcover, which again, I know some people don't care, but a lot of people do care. So, I mean, I know they're happy to have it, but we were talking about this last night. It would almost be pretty brilliant for them at some point this week to be like, we're going to release for $5 an alternate slip.
Dude, that's
different than what I have on my original because you want to kind of show the difference, right? Like, this is the second edition. But dude, if they sold 1,000 last night, imagine selling 1,000 slipcovers tomorrow.
There is a reason why they did not have a slipcover on this. Because now people are like, man, I wish I had a slipcover for this, and then they're going to release those slipcovers. But not everybody was able to get one because, like, man, like you said, they were out in an hour or so. So it's like, you imagine people like, oh, I'll buy it when I wake up at 6 a.m. too late.
Yeah, I've already had people messaging me today that watched the show last night. They said, dude, I woke up this morning thinking I was going to get myself rad, and all of a sudden it was gone. I was like, dude, yeah, it didn't even last an hour. And it was still, with shipping and stuff. I mean, let's even round it down. That was a $40 purchase. You think of Vinegar Syndrome right now, $40,000 on one title last night.
That's crazy.
They
best be using that money for a good title coming soon.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that I keeping on this topic, I know it's a little off topic, but guys, tomorrow I'm dropping a video talking about the physical media history of Fright Night 2 and its past, present, and future of this movie that people have been wanting for so long. And I have a real cool guest on with me that kind of knows a little bit about what's going on with that, and he kind of talks a little bit about what a lot of these companies are doing. And it put a weird perspective on things for me, like, because he kind of works with some of these companies and said that sometimes when you see like some of these companies, for instance, Return of the Living Dead just came out on like a 4K Steelbook. Now we've already got that in like 1,000 other versions, but so why re-release that again? He actually said a lot of times these companies will do that. They'll re-release a movie that they know will sell, and they'll just change the packaging or whatever, because it's almost like a swish where they'll be like, we don't have to do anything to it. Just put it in a new slipcover or in a new case, put it out there. And then when we know we're going to rank a lot of money in for this, we're going to use that money towards maybe a bigger title that we want to get. Or maybe if we bring in a title that might be, that might not sell well, it's not too much of a loss because we know we have these other huge name titles that will always be winners. So they sprinkle a lot of shit like that out because they're like, we want to help, we want to use this to help finance us doing something else. And it is an interesting way to look at it because it is always like, why do these movies keep coming out? And they said people like Anchor Bay did that for years with Halloween and all this stuff. Like it was almost like, let's change some artwork, throw this out again because we know that's going to make us money to then work on projects that we're not sure are going to be, 100% winners.
See, and I didn't know if it was like a rights issue because like in Hollywood, when it comes to like movies, like if you don't make like say like this is what happened with Hellraiser. Like they were looking at their stuff and they were like, oh my god, we're going to lose the rights to Hellraiser because you need to release something. Sometimes when you make these deals, you have to release something or else it goes back to the original owner. So that's why like they only had like 3 weeks to come up with some of those Hellraiser movies, and you can tell. And they were just doing it just so they can keep the rights. And that's what happens with so many of those franchises. There are franchises that make money and they're like, okay, well, unfortunately we have to throw something together in a month just so we can keep these rights.
100%. And we see that a lot. I mean, a prime example of that is some of these companies like to have specific named movies, right? Like a Hellraiser, like maybe the one they just put out, they had to rush through it because in their head, they're like, well, we need this name later. So let's just throw out some junk now so we can keep the name for another 10 years until we decide to do something good with it. Prime example was Wrong Turn. That last Wrong Turn that came out that no one watched because at that point people were so burnt out on Wrong Turn. It was a really good movie. And when you watch that, you're like, this has nothing to do with Wrong Turn. So it almost seems like they had a movie made. They needed to put a Wrong Turn movie out because they needed to keep that license. And they must have just took this movie and said, fuck it, this is going to be called Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
Because there's literally nothing to do with it, but it has the name Wrong Turn. And it almost is like they try to play it off as like a reboot, but it's like it literally has nothing,
it had nothing to do. Yeah.
So it seems like it was a cash grab to kind of just keep that license. You know?
I did like that movie. I thought it had a really cool end credit scene. Like, when it ended and the credits were rolling. I was like, oh, this is cool, man.
I do. I even like someone like Uncle Bill from both Dead Pit guys, they're very critical on a lot of movies. They both liked it. And nobody talks about that because, a Wrong Turn reboot, I don't think really caught anybody's eye, but I do recommend checking that thing out for sure. But yeah, that tomorrow will be interesting on the Vinegar Syndrome stuff. I don't think it's going to be as big as what we go with Rat. I don't know what they could put out that would be that big. Maybe Roadhouse, maybe Showgirls. I mean, I don't know what else would sell.
But those are all VSUs. You think they'd put VSUs back on?
I don't know, Or
do you think it'd just be like the single?
It's hard to say because, when you think about Rad being out of print for so long and then the license go to another company and then all of a sudden 5 years later, it's like, hey, we found 1,000 more. Like, where were those 975 sitting all this time? You know what I mean? Like that seems like a lump sum to just randomly come across. So could they do that with anything? I don't know,
And the director's son owns the rights to the movie, and he's trying to make a Rad Day every year, so it plays in theaters once a year. And so he's like the son of uh, Adrian from Rocky. She's in the movie, so his son is still, he loves the movie so much, so that's why I think he probably gave them the rights to do one more release of it just to get it out there.
Could have, very much so. But yeah, I think it was. I mean, the one thing about Vinegar Syndrome, you can love or hate them what they put out, or maybe it seems a little, sneaky that they put out 975 copies of movies that's been out of print for like years. Who knows? But no matter what, I've always got to applaud them for their business sense, because they're killing it, man. Like, I mean, they know how to make turn chicken shit into chicken salad, man. And I mean, there's not many people that can do that. So I mean, I've got to give them props on that, because love it or hate it, if you didn't own Rad and you do now, I'm sure you're happy. So if you bought 10 copies last night to sell them all on eBay and you don't end up making your money back, then I guess it sucks to be you. I don't know.
I'm definitely hoping it went to fans though, but there's a good chance it didn't.
I mean, 1,000 in an hour, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, man.
Adrian James in the house. What's going on, man? Thank you. We're going to get into this episode very, very soon. What's up, Hall and Oates? How are you, my friend? What's up, Anthony, Horror and More? Go check out Anthony over at Anthony's Horror and More.
Yeah, he took my title for Horror YouTuber of the Month.
He did. He did.
He was.
Look at this. The Prince. What's up, dude? Perry fan, what's going on? Oh, I would love to do a buddy cop film with Cody.
Oh yeah, it was so funny. I was thinking about that last night. I was like, man, we either got to do a buddy cop movie, and then we got to do a boy band.
I was actually thinking about it all week. I'm like looking at different buddy cop pictures, and I'm like, which one would be cool if I could crop our heads in here? And I was trying to find one for sure. Dude,
I have been listening to that Joey Lawrence song nonstop since you freaking posted that thing. Maybe. Yeah.
So good, right?
Dude, yeah, dude. I remember when that aired. It was on. Do you remember it aired at the end of the episode of Blossom? And he wakes up. He wakes up on the couch. He's like, oh wow, it was just a dream. So like 100%. I haven't heard that song in years, but yeah, great song.
Monday night, I remember it happened, and I think that happened, and then not too far after. Remember, I think it was like, wasn't Brian Austin Green did one too? Like
probably, yeah.
That aired on 90210. I'm pretty sure if you search Brian Austin Green, I think he had a hit single at the time. Man, all those people in those shows were starting to do that. I think my friend Doug down the street bought the Joey Lawrence album, because I can remember him playing it at the house. Like it's got to have a CD. What the other songs are, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. My sister was a huge fan. I wonder if she has the CD at all. But what else? I went to the Def Leppard and Journey concert last Friday, and before the show starts, they're playing music, and I was like, man, I've heard this song before. It's really good. Who is it? And I looked it up, and it was Don Johnson. I was like, oh dang, Don Johnson was.
There was some good shit back there. Even man. that Eddie Murphy jam, Party All the Time.
Party All the Time, man. Yeah, he had another good song too, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Bruce Willis. Yeah, man.
What's his name? Swayze, dude. That song was sick.
Oh, Patrick Swayze, yeah, man.
So good, man. Mm-hmm. What's up, Mike? Dead Heat is a classic. He's recommended Dead Heat classic.
That's a good
movie. What's going on, kid? How are you? Let's see. Who else is in here? I haven't said hi to. What up, Davey? The raddest of the rad dudes. Have a great holiday weekend. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
Check out Davey Deathray if you've seen our episode on those high school thriller movies. He is in that episode with us. If you haven't, you got to go check that out and go check out Davey Deathray. Jesse, what's up, man? Let me see. All right, here's a question for Cody. Cody, you appeared on Steelbook Obsessed, so I want to ask you my trademark question. What movie is your feel-good serotonin boost?
Oh, it's got to be either Dumb and Dumber or Mrs. Doubtfire. I love those movies, and I watch. If they're on TV, I'll watch it wherever it's at, and just I'll watch 5 minutes of it, and all of a sudden the whole movie's over.
So good, man. You're like, Danny boy.
that or say there's I have 100 movies I need to watch, and I can't pick out one. I always go to Child's Play 2. So
this is a pretty good one, man. Blue Streak is a great buddy cop movie. Martin Lawrence and Luke Wilson are great.
Yeah, man, I didn't even think about that. Same with like the one with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan. Well, no, that's not cops though. They're just
Which one is that?
It's Shanghai Nights and Shanghai Noon.
Oh, I never saw those.
Yeah.
Wow, the Rad from last night with no slip is 200 on eBay. Wow. That is interesting. They said Rad has sold more copies in the last couple of years than it had in its initial VHS run. It could
That's
be
crazy.
True. Yeah, so definitely be taking notes on this live stream for some jams that you guys probably haven't heard of, because these are some good ones. What's up, Jamie Hart? I see you in here, kid. Let me just see if there's anybody else saying hi that I haven't said hi to yet. Everybody's saying hi to each other. Blu-ray Addict, what's going on? Wish I had bought a Rad on 4K. Never seen Rad, but I have a feeling I'm probably going to like it. I think you'd like it. It's pretty, I mean, if you like anything like, Gleaming the Cube or any kind of those like 80s, to me, it's like all the stuff we got back then. It's basically like Karate Kid, but on bikes.
Rocky,
Yeah. Like it's the same thing. It's just on bikes.
And great soundtrack. Great soundtrack.
100%.
And Lori Loughlin.
Oh, yeah. Doing the little dance scene.
Yeah.
I just got the one to Near Dock outside of my backyard. Wow.
Oh, nice.
That's cool, Jamie. Yeah, Near Dock's a little bit slower. It's got those big epic moments like at the bar and stuff like that. But 9 times, it is a slower one than your other vamps from that time period. Let me see. John Doe said, I heard a box is 4 spindles of 250 copies, and they must have found a misplaced box. They're not selling all 1,000 in case some new ones bought or damaged.
I don't know, man. There's no way those were just sitting around somewhere, because even if they do have a warehouse, it's not big enough to misplace something. They know where everything's at.
You would think, unless
it's
just. Well, what's weird is that so the archive is their warehouse. It's like the store that's built onto their warehouse. And I live about 2 hours from there. And, part of me was kind of like, is there any way I can get down there this weekend? There isn't, sadly. But they posted like, hey, look what's on the store shelves. And it's Texas Chainsaw with Slip, Texas Chainsaw 2. I mean, that's been sold out forever, right? Like all these old titles that have been sold out with slip covers are all at the store. That'll be gone within the weekend. So I had a couple people reach out to me and were like, hey man, any chance you can go there this weekend and get me one of these? I mean, I wish I could, but there's just no way I'm going to be able to make it happen, because it's still like, it's 2 hours to there, but it is wild that they're are finding all this stuff, or I hate to say reprinting it, but I mean, it's unless, it could be one of those things like, you don't know, these companies might keep a couple boxes hanging around in case of damaged shit, right? Like, what if you were to get a sold out movie and it came damaged? They're just going to say, sorry, that's all we got? Or do you think they're going to say, oh, we'll return it and we'll send you another one? Like, there must be some kind of backup. And maybe after all this time, once all the returns and stuff are done, they're like, okay, well, we do have all these extra boxes that have, 100 copies that aren't damaged. Now let's just throw them up. Like, maybe that's a thing.
Well, there has to be, because you and your Mario box set, it was lost, and then it was sold out, and they had one that they could send you.
That's right. That's true too. You're right.
Yeah. Oh, and I found out that there's a Severin's warehouses near me. I did not know that I lived near one.
Well, maybe you can start hand delivering everybody's operas that are still waiting.
So I know somebody who works there, and they said that I probably shouldn't be saying this on over a live stream. Never mind.
We'll do it on a members only stream.
Yeah. I'll tell you after.
Kevin, you're killing me, man. Thank you for the super chat. Top 5 Vinegar Syndrome slipcovers. I don't know. I gotta have to turn around here.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I like anything that like Dude Designs do. So like that's that. Like they did Miami Connection. They did New York Ninja. They did Roadhouse. Like they did a lot of slip covers for Vinegar Syndrome, and I really like their artwork a lot. I actually just bought a poster of Monster Squad that they did. It looks fantastic. So everything they've done, I really like. I mean, I did think that the Amityville Horror slip cover was really nice. So Ticks, I guess right there.
I like Ticks. I thought that was a pretty cool cover.
Trying to
what with Blades? I thought Blades was a fun one.
Blades is a good cover for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I liked Rad's fine, I guess. I mean, I liked Mother's Day. I thought Rabid Grannies was good. Yeah, I would say like
Roadhouse was good too. Roadhouse had a good
sure. So I would say probably those are probably some top ones. Let me see if I can give you a little super chat thing. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see what we can do. How about this?
So I have a question. He's a wrestler for WWE, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I all of a sudden I see him everywhere, and I'm like, he's got to be a wrestler.
Well, here's what's funny is this dude's actually a wrestler for TNA, and
okay.
Yeah, so he's like, I think he's their champion, but like NXT and TNA have some kind of weird working relationship now. So like
pretty cool.
Their people go on each other's shows. So he's coming on NXT and he's so freaking popular that it's almost like WWE is like really trying to get him to stay. Like they're trying to somehow get him to stay here because they must look at him and be like, this dude's gonna be a huge star. So I don't know what the game plan is here. Like I don't know if they're gonna try to make a trade for him, but he's on NXT like almost every week and he's over as Rover, man.
So is he like a motivational speaker, or he kind of reminds me? Do you remember Simon? Remember
Dean.
that Simon Dean, who was like trying to get people to lose weight or whatever.
Yeah,
he was on, like,
this guy's kind of like, I don't know what his gimmick is. Like a just like a feel good guy. Like he really doesn't have a gimmick. Like he has this like crazy. It almost sounds like an AI theme song, but it's so catchy that the place goes crazy. And this guy like plays good. He plays guitar. Like he's really talented. Like I look at him and I'm like, he could be like the next Cena someday.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. See,
like,
I've been out
he's that over.
Yeah, I've been out of wrestling since WrestleMania. So, like I was there for the hype, and then after that, I don't know what's going on. Like I randomly saw Sting came back, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. But it was just for a one-time thing, right?
Yeah, because they wanted him to retire at that show he just came back at. So, but he didn't want to do another 6 months or whatever. So maybe he's like,
Jamie, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
All right, guys, thank you for being here. I'm sorry I can't get to everybody. We got to start the show here. What up, your hangout? I see you over there, brother. All right. So we're going to be talking about buddy cop movies. We're going to give you like our big wild 10, the wackiest ones, the oddest couples. But before we give you the 10, we want to throw out some in there that like you should check out that almost made our list. One of them I can throw out right away is a movie Double Trouble with the Barbarian twins. Kino has a Blu-ray that just recently came out, and it's basically these bodybuilding twins, and they're kind of in a buddy cop situation. So you're watching two twin brothers, as buddy cops, and they're very different as far as like the things that they're into. Like the characters are very different, but they look exactly the same. So it's kind of fun, a little bit odd and weird, but again, just a different concept on the genre that I think you guys should probably check out.
Didn't they do a lot of like sword and sandals movies?
They did, yeah. They did like a movie called like The Barbarians.
The Barbarians, yeah. I've not seen any of their movies, but that Double Trouble looks good.
Dude, they live near me. Like I used to see them at the gym all the time. This was after they had like retired and stuff. They used to hang around the gym. They had long hair. They used to come in like, they almost looked kind of homeless, to be honest with you. This is going back about 10 years.
I think one of them passed away recently.
He did, right? Yeah. A couple of years ago, one did, and I don't know where the brother went. So, but yeah, they used to be go to the gym down near where my college was. So I would see him all the time.
I definitely want to check that out. You said a Kino release of it?
Yeah, I actually have it right here. It's this. It looks like this. Yeah.
Nice.
So
it looks fun.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Cheesy but fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's one that we can throw out there, Cody. I don't know I know you have a couple that you liked that you can throw out.
Yeah. So this is one that Garrett and I both wanted to talk about, but we took it off the list because it's more mainstream, and that's going to be Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Look at that edition, huh? Is that a Red Planet?
This is Red Planet, guys.
Wow, nice.
Yep, Planet Red, Planet Red Video, guys, go check them out. But yeah, these are really good. Oh, but anyways, I'm sorry. I was talking about. I always get lost looking at these artworks. Red Planet Video. I'm sorry. Yeah, Red Planet Video. But yeah, so yeah, this is one of the best movies, cop buddy movies. They're wacky. Obviously, I'm sure most of you guys have seen it. But even like the bad guy is scary in this movie. That's like the dip, like that stuff was very scary to me when I was a kid. Even now, he takes his glasses off and is like, oh, it's like, oh my goodness. But it was awesome, and the effects are still awesome. And obviously, it's a cartoon hanging out with a live action person. So
yeah, and that's what kind of made us want to talk about it. Is it's weird because you got the cop and then you got Roger, so it's like a cartoon interacting with a police officer on like this mission to get his girl back and to stop Doom and all this other stuff. So it's definitely fits the genre, I think, of a buddy cop movie. I mean, Roger Rabbit is an all-time freaking classic, and I mean that to me, like that could be considered an almost like perfect movie, like for what they wanted to do with that, and it was a very new concept at the time. They nailed it, dude, and it's so memorable, and it's got great lines, like you talking about Doom and the dip, and when he took that little shoe thing, and he'd put that
in the dip, man.
That was scary, and then I love the singing song, I love that thing. Yeah, man. Look at that, dude.
Definitely check it out. Red Planet.
Retro Ryan in the house. He said, Jessica Rabbit was every boy's crush. Am I right? I'm not going to say you're wrong. Yeah, Roger Rabbit's great.
Yeah,
man. Like, oh, wow, 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 wow. When he's like melting.
I know. Dude, and there's even like the kid, like even like to see like Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny on screen together. It's crazy. That's something that was
crazy.
They would not do that now unless millions and millions of dollars were involved.
Well, let's talk about Roger Rabbit for a second here, because it's a movie that I would love to have talked about on an episode in general. But since we're talking about it, what is the deal with that? Because like, is that a Disney movie or was it not?
This is a Disney movie. Yeah, I believe so. Well, I probably shouldn't be looking at that because it's a Disney.
You're like, it says it right here.
I swear, Garrett, it says it's a Disney movie. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Disney. I think he even had a ride at Disneyland. But I'm pretty sure
so that is true. Like I don't know if he had a ride, but he at least was there. I have a picture at Disney with Roger Rabbit. Like I have a picture with him. So he was definitely there. And actually whoever played Roger Rabbit at the time was like a prick. Because I can remember my brother and I wanting to meet him so bad, and we did like a picture, and this is what he did. So like it was my brother and I, and then him, and my mom took a picture, and he put his arms like on our heads. And he was like this. And I have the picture like still from it.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch pushed on our heads so hard. I remember me and my brother like this. Like he was like pushing down.
Yeah,
so hard.
dang.
And after we were done, my brother goes, dude, he was like hurting my neck. I'm like, yes. He was like pushing so hard. Whoever that little bastard was in that suit back then was kicking the shit out of us when he was.
That's awesome, man. But then again, I know the Ninja Turtles used to hang out at Disneyland too for a while in the early 90s. And I don't know what's up with that because they're not Disney.
Yeah, it is strange, but
I'm pretty sure it's Disney. And I know that when Disney.
Well, is it on Disney Plus or is it not?
I don't know. But I know that like so in order to use the Warner Brothers people, so like Bugs Bunny had to have the same screen time as Mickey Mouse. Same with Donald Duck and
it's like they all have like egos and shit.
Yeah. They all have their own trailer and stuff.
Bugs is like Daffy's like, I bet I have the same amount of screen time as Donald if you want me to sign this.
Going around. He's like, I'm on orange juice.
That's so funny. Donald, I feel like Daffy was super weird in that one in comparison to what I remember him in like the shows.
Yeah.
Like he was like way so zany in this. I'm like, he looks like he's like on drugs in that movie because I was so used to seeing him on just like Looney Tunes. And you go to there and he had like the crazy hair and stuff. I'm like, this is like him like times like 10.
Well, it's like so like he was different in like the earlier Looney Tunes days, and I think that's what they took was the early Looney Tune days.
Such a good movie. And then you had like obviously the baby and all that. So man, shit.
Yeah, the baby smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Dude, that would I guarantee you that's not on Disney Plus just for that alone. You know,
you can't have him smoking a cigar.
You can't have him smoking a cigar.
Smacking women in the bum. You can't show that.
Goose the caboose.
Yeah. You can't have Super Mario making out with a cartoon. You can't.
I
Have
know. That's so great. Would you show your son Roger Rabbit?
Probably not. I think it would probably scare him, to be honest with you.
I mean, it scared me because I was about 5 when I watched it, and it scared me.
Yeah. There was something I showed him the other day that I was like, he can watch this because I think I was his age when. Oh, I showed him the camp show on a watch.
Oh yeah. And you said he was laughing at the theme song.
He loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so he said Daffy started out as insanely zany. Okay. But yeah, that was another one. Another one we talked about was Double Team, which is Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman. So definitely a wild pairing there. Such different personalities between the two. That's one to definitely be seen just because, again, it was like such a sign of the time, you know, back then with Dennis Rodman and, you know, had all the piercings going, the crazy hair, and then just to throw Jean-Claude in there. It was just kind of a really odd couple, but fun movie for sure. Trying to think if there's what other ones we chatted about quickly.
And there's another one with, and I can't remember if it's Cops though. It was with Rob Schneider and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And there's like drugs inside of like the jeans. Do you remember that? And they're trying to find them. Yeah, man.
Rob Schneider.
Yeah,
Jean-Claude, huh?
Yeah, I think it's called like Knockoff or something. But yeah.
Oh, it sounds familiar, actually.
Knockoff. Yeah, I remember watching it. It was on like Showtime or something all the time when I was a kid. Yeah, Knockoff. Perry fan says, well, Knockoff. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. There's so many good ones that are a little bit different. Like, I'm even going to go out there and say, you know, it wasn't a crazy odd couple or whatever, but I thought that the 21 Jump Street stuff was great. Like, I thought that was really, really good stuff.
That was definitely Odd Couple. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool movie too.
That's probably the last great buddy cop movie. Well, no, because there's another one that we'll be talking about later on. That was newer.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, so I mean, those are a couple. And there's obviously, if you do a little research, you can find more. There's a cool movie that could have easily made this list. Not many people have seen it. It's called Samurai Cop, which is like a very cheesy, you know, movie, but it's one of those movies that it's so bad it's just hilariously good. That's another one that I was going to pick on this list too, that people definitely need to check out, Samurai Cop. But yeah, there's so many out there, but we had to pick 10, and I think the ones that we chose are ones that just they kick so much ass, like they really do, and it is super, super different. Now, I guess I can start, and then we can just kind of talk a little bit about them. I know some of us might know more than others, but I think these are the ones that we agreed on. I'll start with this, then maybe you can show the one that you have, because there's one that we're going to talk about right now that I don't have a physical media copy for, and all the other ones I do. Let's talk about this one, and this has got to be, I'm trying to say, it's got to be 90s. It's got to be, 92. And that's Stallone and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
I have it, but I don't have it with me. Yeah.
I can remember when this was like getting hyped, the trailer in 92 on TV. I can remember this, the trailer being there. But such a crazy movie. You have Estelle Getty and you got Stallone in this crazy movie where he teams with his mother. And they're doing like a little buddy cop situation. Now, I'm sure some people have seen it. I'm sure you've probably seen this multiple times. I can imagine this being a definite Cody movie.
I'm actually a big fan of it. Yeah.
Funny is the backstory with this one.
Yeah.
You know the backstory with Arnold and all that.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah. That's so funny.
So basically it goes something like this, I think. Like Arnold kind of conned him into doing this kind of, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah. They were like, you know, Stallone was like kind of like keeping an eye on Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, okay, what's he doing now? You know, he's doing these comedies and they're really hitting, and he needed that comedy. He did Oscar, but it wasn't the hit he wanted. It wasn't a Kindergarten Cop. It wasn't, you know, a junior or whatnot. So Arnold Schwarzenegger was messing with him. He's like, hey, you know, he told his agent to tell him, he's like, hey, you know, to tell him that I want to do the role. So, you know, it got back to Stallone that Arnold Schwarzenegger really wanted the role. And Stallone's like, no, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. I'll do it. Blah, blah. And he got the role, and it you know,
I got the role over you. And then like he like said something to Schwarzenegger, I think, like, hey, I got this over you. And like Schwarzenegger kind of laughed it off, be like, well, yeah, I tricked you, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah. And Yeah, and to this day, it's his least favorite movie, even over Rhinestone.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Well,
Mm-hmm.
he liked Dolly, I guess. I don't know, but
Yeah, which I am a fan of both of those movies. So, but
yeah,
yes,
I mean,
Stop Or My Mom or Shoot is great. So I was a huge fan of Stallone and a huge fan of the Golden Girls. So I thought it's very silly and wacky, but it's a good time. It's fun.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely to me like it screams 90s to me, like
Mm-hmm.
everything about it. This is a real cool edition. This came out, I think Mill Creek did it. It was one of those like VHS looking boxes, really cool edition of this as well. If anybody's interested in trying to find out, I'm sure it's probably still available.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies where it's like, let's see how many times we can show Estelle Getty with a big gun, like an old lady with a big gun. she like wakes him up, pointing the gun at his face. It's like, what?
It's pretty fun, man. It's a cool one, and like I said, I think the backstory behind it, I think the fact that Stallone hates it so much too even makes it more fun. You know,
yeah.
I love that about it. But I'm gonna say what's up. I see some people popping in. Eli Wilkie, what's up, guys? Huck's in the house. What's up, man? So everybody else that's in here, what's going on? We're just getting into our top 10 wackiest buddy cop movies we could find. That was our number 10. It was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Now, these aren't ranked. We're just giving you 10 of the wackiest odd couples that we could find. And Cody, I know you have one over there that I haven't seen since it came out. And when we talked about it, I was like, let me look at the trailer again because I just want to confirm. And when I watched the trailer for this movie, because I don't own it, I said, this I need in my collection now because it is a movie I don't think would ever get made today. I'm wondering if that's why this is still stuck on DVD and doesn't have any other editions. But man, this looks funny as hell. And it's white chicks from the Wayans brothers. I mean, this is following their Scary Movie success. Like they were on fire when Scary Movie came out.
Yeah, like this movie, and remember they did Little Man.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
you know, like you see Marlon pop up once in a while, but you never see Sean anymore.
Wasn't he just in something or no? I thought
I've seen Marlon, but I don't know. I know Damon Wayans he has a new show coming out. But yeah, this movie is hilarious. I remember seeing it in theaters, and it's just like it's two black cops who go undercover as basically like Paris Hilton and like the Hilton sisters. And
you could tell that's exactly like I think it was 2004. Like that was the time frame. Like it was basically like they were trying to be like the Hiltons. Like that's kind of exactly what was going on. But man, the makeup was so freaking cool, but so freaky at the same time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And this is what this movie kind of put Terry Crews on the map. He was he was it was not Sarah McLachlan, but the Michelle Branch song or whatever, like Make My Way Downtown, like that song. It was from here, and him dancing on the dance floor. And he's like, he's like, I put girls in wheelchairs, or I forgot what the quote is. And there's like that all those girls in wheelchairs because he puts girls in wheelchairs after he has sex with them, kind of thing. But yeah, it's a movie that can't be made today, but it has all the things you want from a Wayans Brothers movie, and it's something that I wish it would team up back again and do it again, do these kind of things again.
Yeah, I mean they really were on fire back then, and like it kind of has that humor like a Scary Movie, where like a lot of the stuff that they were doing back then was funny in 2004, but like it wouldn't fly now. It just wouldn't, that kind of comedy. And
so it's like if they were to come back now, it's like, do they go balls out and do what they used to do, or do they not do that? He's gonna piss off either his old fans or the new people then. So yeah, I definitely recommend you seeing this again.
I kind of feel like it could work, like because it's in a weird way, because it almost feels like sometimes
people are hungry for it.
Yeah, like like even like someone like Eminem's new album, right? Like he kind of went back and like kind of made it like his old albums, and it was kind of one of those things like it's probably gonna piss people off, but like I'm gonna try to work it to pretend that's like, no, this is Eminem, this is Slim Shady, right? Not me. It's kind of like the gimmick, right? Like Hulk Hogan gimmick where he's in court and he's basically
he's like
did you say that you're penis is this long. He's like, not mine. Hulk
Hulk
Hogan's.
Hogan's. Yeah.
Mine.
Yeah.
So it's like I get it. You got to be kind of strategic, I think, with what you do. But
Yeah.
I think it could work. But
they even
go ahead.
They even play that Paris Hilton song, remember? Or Miss Hilton, you could be a million. Or, like that song. Like I vaguely remember them playing it when they get off like the plane in this movie.
Yeah, I watched the trailer when we were kind of narrowing down our list, and then as soon as I watched it, I went on Amazon, and it's like on sale for like $8, and I'm like, God, I need that.
Yeah.
So I don't own it. I saw it once when it first came out, and I was kind of like, it's okay. But watching it again, I kind of got hungry for it because I'm like, just don't make comedies like that anymore. So it's like I want to go back in time and see something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's White Chicks from the Wayans brothers. And I see people popping in. What's up, everybody? I'll get back to the chat in a little bit as we kind of scroll down our list into to the number 8. And again, not ranked, just as we kind of go through it. I'll grab the first one that's on my list here. And that's a movie from, it's got to be 80s. It's got to be. Let me see. 89. And that is Alien Nation. Now, this is a movie that came out in 89, and then it had its own spin-off TV show. It had, I think, a sequel. But this movie, the big thing about it that I think really works is like James Caan's in it, and he's just always good. And it's about a cop and his partner is an alien. So basically, aliens are living amongst the humans.
It's normal. It's normal.
Yeah. So, in the 80s, anything kind of goes, right? So what's cool about this, though, in my opinion, is it's violent as shit, dude. It's gritty, man. It's a gritty movie. Like, it's dark, it's gritty, it's violent, but it's a buddy cop kind of sci-fi buddy cop movie. And I just think this thing works on all levels. And it's another one that I think is still stuck on DVD. Like, I don't think this has a new release at all. I have the VHS, I have the DVD, and that's all I've got. And I'm like, this would be a movie that would look fantastic on a 4K or something like that. It's just a real cool flick.
And I watched it a couple years ago streaming, so it's somewhere. It's somewhere, and it has an HD version somewhere because it looked good when I watched it. So,
yeah, it's one that I think that you guys should definitely check out. Like I said, James Caan is always killer, and it's a real fun movie. You could probably stream this because, like I said, people might not have seen it because it hasn't had a release since DVD from like way back in the day. So it is one that I would highly, highly recommend. But people that were around and watching movies in the late 80s probably remember this because it did spin off a show that was on TV as well. And I think it was pretty popular. So even Huck, like he loves it. Jamie loves it. So you can see the people that were kind of around probably when this Jesse was here and said he saw it. She saw it at the theater. Like, people that were, older at the time highly remember this movie.
It is one of those movies that have like a social commentary, but it's like you don't really like. It's not like an in your face kind of thing. Like the aliens get treated like crap in this movie. Like, they're getting beat and stuff. They're considered like criminals and whatnot. But it's a great movie. Definitely give it a watch. And it's, like I said, it should be somewhere streaming, or at least it was when I watched it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and what I like about it too is like the aliens are cool looking. Like, they look very human, but they look alien at the same time. Like, it's not like an alien like that you would see in a lot of the movies. Like, this is like a more humanized, but they got the big heads, and even the chicks were like, the alien girls were like wicked pretty, but they almost like cone heads, right? Like,
yeah.
They just had no hair basically. But
you know who James Caan reminds me in this movie, and I know I'm kind of off, but it's going to be Koopa or Bowser in the live action
Mario Brothers,
Super Mario Brothers. Like in my mind, when I think about that character, that's who I think about first. But even though I know it's not what he looks like,
it's definitely one that, like, when we decided to do this, it was like one of the first ones I threw on the list because I knew this is exactly what I want to talk about, and it's so different. You get an alien and a cop as buddy cops. Like, they're both cops, but they're partners. And I knew this would be something Huck would love. You're right; it would make for a great 4K or something. And whatever company can get their hands on this, I think that would be a pretty big hit for them. I don't know who owns it. It says in the back, like it's CBS Fox. I don't know if that makes a difference on like maybe why this isn't around. It says Fox on it. I don't know, but this is the VHS, and I do have the DVD, I think, as well.
And what sucks about some of these movies and these companies back in the day, they weren't so tight on their copyrights and stuff. So that's why we're having a lot of issues with things now, you know.
And
maybe that's
like how a movie like this did. Like it had to have been in theaters. I'm curious if it was because Jamie.
Yeah, it does. Jamie saw it. I'm
curious to see if this was a success or not. But I mean, you would think it would kind of have to be if it spawned a TV show. You would think it had to be somewhat successful. And
I really think the TV show lasted about 2 seasons. I could be wrong though.
I remember the TV show more than I remember the movie until I remember sitting down and watching the movie. I remember like as a kid, the look of those aliens, the name of the show, the name of the movie. But then when I put it on to watch it, I was like, this isn't what I remember because I was remembering the show as a kid. But then when I watched this again, I was like, holy shit, this is raw. This is crazy.
So maybe I'm wrong, but to me it feels like it's in the same. It could be in the same universe as RoboCop, like the first RoboCop. Yeah, if the there were aliens walking around, yeah, like that's what it reminds me of. Like I feel like it could have been Paul Verhoeven or whatever his name is directing it. It's a really good movie. I like it a lot.
Yeah, so that's Alien Nation. Cody, is there any other one right now that you want to bring up? I got some physical over here. As soon as you say it, I can hold it up.
Yeah, let's do. This is actually my favorite on the list. It's going to be with Burt Reynolds.
Ooh,
and a little kid. Yeah, I think it's directed by Happy Days, Mr. Robert, or what's his name? Is it directed by Henry Winkler?
Let's see. Directed by
is either Henry Winkler or
it was directed by Henry Winkler.
Winkler, yeah. That's Cop and a Half. This is my favorite one on the list.
Look at that.
I grew up loving this movie. It's such a funny that kid. I'm surprised he wasn't in more stuff. He was such a good actor, and he was somebody. It was his first movie too. It was just so funny. He like witnesses a murder, so he has to he's like hanging out with this cop, which is Burt Reynolds, and they try to get everybody under the sun to play this cop. And Burt Reynolds was kind of on like a downward not downward spiral, but his career wasn't as hot as it used to be. So I guess he did not enjoy doing the movie at all, but it's a fun movie. But I guess his character is it fits the character, but it's definitely fun. Give it a shot.
I remember when this came out, but dude, looking at it now, I didn't realize this was late 90s.
It's late 90s.
So I think it says right here, unless this is when the DVD came out. Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's like 94, shouldn't it be? Or 95?
It says it's 93. You're right. 93.
Yeah.
Must have been the DVD. It said 98. That's why I was like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this was super fun too. The kid was really good. Like at the beginning when he's running around school pretending he's a cop and all this stuff.
He's like a gun.
The teacher with
in a crotch, scratches him with the cop. Yeah.
And the thing was, it was like he was shocked, but I'm like, he did it for so long. Like
I know, yeah, he's like
he kept doing it, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, did this kid ever go on to do anything else? Do you know?
I don't think he's been in it, and they made a sequel to it like 2015 with Lou Diamond Phillips. Cop and a Half too. They did. Really? I have not seen it, but I remember seeing it on the shelves. It was like back when they did Kindergarten Cop 2 with Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, I have that one, of course.
Yeah, that's not that great.
But this was on like every trailer. I'm Your Worst Nightmare. The old bads. That was like every trailer.
Yeah. And I saw somebody said that Kino would release this. It actually recently got a Blu-ray release, like in like 2001, maybe 2001. Because I do own it on Blu-ray, just don't have it with me.
Was it just like a Universal Blu-ray? Maybe
I think it was just one of those one of those. You know how like Stay Tuned was kind of like re-released.
Oh yeah. But yeah, this is like we went from like Alien Nation being a little more gritty. This is fun, man. This is back to like the fun time of like, you know, around that time you were getting this stuff. Like we said, this is like around the time of Kindergarten Cop was probably like a couple years before this. So I think they were trying to get some of these actors and be like, oh, you know what, do a comedy, do some stuff with kids. Like, I mean, we saw a lot of these kids movies around 93 that were really popular.
And if I remember correctly, I think like they really wanted Bill Murray in the role, like Bill Murray, Harrison Ford,
Mm.
Mel Gibson. But I don't think they could afford him at the time.
Yeah, it is wild.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of people in the chat are
Yeah.
remember this one. I sure do, as far as like the trailers and all this stuff. When a
It-
kid in '93, I don't know if I saw this in theaters, but I definitely rented it early in the '90s.
Oh yeah, it's a movie that was always on TV. I always watched it, and it's a movie where it's like it's a kids movie, but there's actually real danger involved. Like this kid is like, dang, I hope this kid doesn't die, which you don't see in those kind of family comedies. Like this, like what is it? Is it a PG movie?
Um,
Because it definitely plays out as a PG-13, like a higher
PG.
PG. Yeah. There's like explosions, people are dying. It's good.
Yeah, it is crazy on what they could have got away with back then, right?
Yeah. What
I'm gonna give a shout out to Mike. What's up? Thank you so much.
Definitely kids could handle a little more back then.
Oh yeah, 100%. We're fine. See, the problem is now is it's not that I don't think my son would be fine. It's that I don't want him to go to school and be the only one that's seen this stuff. And then he's like talking about it. And then I get phone calls and be like, tell your son to stop talking to mine about violence and stuff,
Well, I remember when I was a kid, so this is probably about 95. I remember we had to draw a picture of our favorite night. And it was like me jumping on the bed watching Child's Play 2 at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember them calling my mom. And they're like, just... It's crazy because my mom's like, he probably did that last night, kind of.
It's like what we do here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a super chat to thank you, Mike. I'm gonna pop this up for you, man. Bam.
So that often. Bam! That just kicks it up a little bit.
Thank you, man. Great stuff. Yeah, cup and a half. Big fan.
Everybody go see that. Like I said, this is my favorite one on the list just because I grew up with it. I love it. I'm actually looking for a one sheet, so I'm sure you'll see that behind sometime soon.
You should do like a video of your '90s one sheets because you got a ton of stuff. I mean, I don't even know how you store your stuff.
I just store them in the tubes and just like in the car. I need to get one of those folders, but
they're expensive. Yeah, the tubes are tough because I have a lot of tubes now, and I'm just like they just take up so much space and
they're everywhere. And it sucks because like for some reason I don't write on the tubes, which I don't know why I didn't do that. So I always have to open them up and I'm like, okay, that says Wes Craven, so I know what that, so
yeah, you have to, and that's what I've learned to do too. And you know what else you could do if you wanted, like when you got a day that you're not like doing much, like take some out and try to like, even if you try to get a bunch in one and like do like 90s kids movies or something, and then throw there. Yeah, then you get rid of some tubes, and then you got things kind of in little categories until you find a better situation.
Dude, I have one that's not even open, and it has like Oscar. It actually might have Don't Tell Mom Base. It might actually have Stop or Mom Will Shoot, and I know it has The Specialist in there. So it's like 3 Stallone.
Wow, that cliffhanger is a nice one.
Yeah, man, it's a rare one sheet from when it first came out. It came out, and then they decided not to use it and go with a different one.
Hanging.
Yeah, I have it signed by Michael Rooker, and I pulled it out for him to sign, and he's like, I haven't, like, he was impressed. He was like, man, I haven't seen this, and like he knew exactly what it was. So like when I bought it, I was like, oh man, hopefully they say they're like rare. I was like, how do I know? So I pull it out, and he's like, oh, his reaction and his handler's reaction made it like it put that nail in the coffin to where it's like, okay, cool, this is a rare item, especially if a guy, one of the guys who was in the movie hasn't seen it in years.
It's wild. I feel like you're kind of like a closet poster collector. Like you are like an avid poster collector, but like you don't really showcase it, and you always just kind of have one, but they're always different. So it's like you must have a ton, but you never really talk about collecting posters.
No, yeah, I have a lot of them, and it was one of those things where it's like when I was starting my YouTube channel, I was like, I want to put something. Actually, it was probably inspired by you with your old setup. You had different posters in the back. I was like, man, I freaking love that. So that's what I wanted to kind of like base it off of. And it's one of those things where it's like sometimes I'll put I don't know if you do this, but like when I got Little Giants, I put it in the frame and put it up there, and it kind of like took me back, and like where it was like I had like butterflies in my stomach. I was like, dang, I have like I'm seeing this one sheet again after all these years. It was just like a weird feeling, and it was a good feeling. But most of my posters are from the 90s, so they're like really cheap. So not people don't want them. Like I was talking to Tabata about this. I have a Brady Bunch, the movie one sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
I love them. I love that movie.
Perfect condition. I bought it for $5. You know.
But you know what though? I'm going to tell you this right now, as opposed to collector too, is like going to the 80s. Shit's so expensive. You like you said, you go in the 90s, you can get some good prices for the 90s. Like even like Batman, which was one of the biggest movies of it's 89. But I mean, once you get to the 90s, I think that's when and maybe even Batman 2, the poster sizes changed to 27 by 40, not the 41. A lot of things were rolled at that point, where back in the 80s things were folded. You got a little bit that extra inch, but they're not as expensive as the one in the 80s. But collect them now, because in 10 years those are going to be just as valuable, because all those people that grew up with those movies like we are now, you know, they're the ones that are going to start picking all that stuff up. I think it just becomes generational, really. Yeah,
well, and like one sheets are going away, guys. Like if you go to some of these theaters, they just have digital, or like something like, so say like, okay, so I like the Beverly Hills Cops movies, but I don't have any of their posters. But could you imagine how I was a huge fan of that franchise? I have all 3 of them, and now the 4th one comes out and there's no one sheet for that. It's like, okay, so, you know, it didn't get a one sheet because it gets a thumbnail on a streaming site.
Yeah, you're right too, because I have a friend that works at a theater, and he was getting me a lot of anything I wanted current. He would be able to get me Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills, Us, Get Out, any of these horror movies that came out, all the Scream stuff. Like he was able to get it for me. Now it's hard, man. Like sometimes I'll be like, hey, I'm looking for this. And he'll be like, we got nothing, because everything's on digital boards now. And then there was all of a sudden one day he messaged me and he goes, yo, I just found a Maxine. I don't think we even put it up. And I was like, oh, dude, I need that. And you know, obviously now, like I'm, you know, I put out there like, yo, if you see Crow, Beetlejuice, like, you know, those are the ones I'm looking for. I haven't. He's as of what I know, the last I talked to him, he said they don't got him. So will they pop up randomly? Like sometimes I think what happens is they'll get sent a couple and then they won't even use them, and then all of a sudden they end up like somewhere back in the back room, and he opened up a tube and he's like, oh shit, this is Maxine, because they sometimes won't even put them out because they're all digital boards now. So they're getting a lot more rare now because they're slimming them out.
Yeah, and you don't even see like I am glad that they still have like the standees, but you don't even see like remember how they used to have like the banners? You don't really see the banners anymore either. Those are so cool.
Now, what theaters are doing all this crazy shit? Like I have Regals, I have a Showcase. I think that's all I got here. But like when I'm looking at I have a place called Cinema World, but that's kind of like its own thing. But I mean, when I see these pictures of people and like sitting on these display stands with all the Beetlejuice characters, I'm like, my theaters don't have any of that shit. Where is that?
I think that AMC has them, because when I go to AMC, they have I remember they had like a quiet place, where it's like you go down like the subway kind of thing. So yeah, when you go in there, they have standees.
Oh yeah, we don't have any of that stuff at all. I mean,
do you have You don't have AMC out there?
We do. We have one, but it's like 50 minutes from me.
Okay, but you have like Cinemark and stuff where you're getting all those cool pop. Oh, you don't?
No,
okay,
I have Regal. Regal's getting good shit. So like,
okay,
I just got like some Beetlejuice ones from Regal that are pretty cool, and they're the ones that I'm getting a lot of the stuff from. Regal and AMC's and Cinemarks are the ones that are doing all the stuff, and it's got to a point now where they're all kind of fighting over the designs because. You know, like I got this from Regal, and this was, you know, a lot of people said this was one of their favorites that they ended up doing. Like, you know, it lights up, it's got this. That's like this is one of the people's favorites, but like this was only Regal. Like I think AMC had one that was a popcorn bucket with like a big face hugger on it, and it was just a regular bucket. Like I got this alien head where like another one had a different alien head without that you put your hand inside or something like that. So they're all kind of competing with each other now, and it's I don't have any of those cool standees to take pictures in front of or anything. Everything is just digital posters, and then luckily Regal does a lot of the cool popcorn stuff. But
yeah, we're out here. I don't have a lot of that popcorn stuff, but sometimes like AMC will have some random stuff that I'll get there. Like I was able to get like, when they have like something like Ghostbusters, I'm able to get like the car and stuff or whatnot.
Did you get AMC's the one that had that Wolverine with the open mouth? That was the only place you got that.
No, I did not get it. But then it's like I don't really have a lot of room for these popcorn things. Like a lot of them are cool, like that Batman one with the back
I got it.
Signal. That's really cool. But it's like, man, why am I gonna put that? Dude, it shoots on the wall. That's awesome.
So I saw that was coming out, and I was like, I don't have an AMC. So when I saw that it lit up and it into the wall, I was like, shit, man, that is sick. Like I could put it here and have it shine up onto the ceiling or something, you know? So I messaged a buddy of mine, and I knew he was going to get one. I was like, if you get one, see if you can get me a second one. And he texted me back, and he's like, got it. So I was like, all right.
That's awesome.
I don't want to chase these things down. I really don't. I actually should probably not get them, because the same thing, like a lot of these are going to go in storage, like somewhere, and it's not really, and they're expensive. But I think I'm just such a sucker for like this promo stuff, because I was a little behind. Like I was a little kid in the 80s when they were doing all this stuff for all these 80s movies. Then when you look at eBay and stuff, and you're like, God, I wish I was able to have a stuffed prop or a Friday the 13th blow up pumpkin or whatever the hell these things are. And I think now I'm like, oh, it's so cool that this is actually happening. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to kind of exploit it, because they see that it's popular. So now it's like every movie's going to have it.
Yeah, and it's really because I have a similar story like that. When I was a kid, I remember I wanted to go see the Little Rascals really bad, the movie, but no one wanted to take me to see Little Rascals, and it wasn't like around my birthday or anything. I remember my neighbor went, and when he came home, he had like the bucket with like the fence and all of them on it. And I was like, man, that's so cool, because I never had that. Like I never got that kind of stuff when I was a kid.
Did So they had some stuff like that for movies back in that period of time, you think?
In the 90s, yeah. I remember it was like a white bucket, and there was the fence, and they were all lined up. I was like, that's so cool. I want that kind of thing.
That might be something you should look up and see.
Yeah, look into,
See if it's cheap,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the popcorn bucket situation. I mean, it's crazy. It's actually one of those things that I'm mad at myself for buying, because
some
it's
of
good
those
for
are
a
cool.
post, and it's good for content, and then all of a sudden it'd be good. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, that was $40. I'll go put it in the attic now.
You know one I don't think you're gonna ever regret getting, or the one that you're not gonna regret getting, is that Slimer one. Like you're gonna be happy you bought that. Like that will never go out of style.
I think
that's the coolest one, I think, out of all the popcorn buckets, is that Slimer.
I think that
Slimer
Batman one might be one I'll keep for a while, because if I can get that to shine like on the ceiling or something up there from the floor, like, and then I would just keep it in my backdrop as like a thing. But I'd have to see it. It's definitely unique, for sure. And it wouldn't be one that I would normally chase down. But I knew somebody that was going to get it. So I was like, I'm going to see if he can. And sure enough, he did. But these things sell out fast. And the problem is you got to be tricky with it now. If you want some of these buckets, don't wait till the movie comes out. They're already gone.
Yeah, they're gone like 2 weeks before it even comes out.
So, like, for instance, I got Beetlejuice stuff. When's Beetlejuice come out?
It comes out next week. Yeah,
like they're going to be sold out before the movie gets out. So it's like you got to be early and check them out, because you go there the day of, and more or less, it's like you're not going to sit there with a Beetlejuice bucket. You're going to have to bring it from when you bought it 2 weeks ago.
See, and I feel bad, because like that could create new collectors. Like like say like you took your son to the movies, and he got a
Beetlejuice
bucket, and he's like, this is cool. And then every time, when he goes to the movies, he's like, oh, I want that bucket, and he can have his own little thing. That's why it's like, I don't know if you knew about the situation with these McDonald's cups, right? So they came out on a Tuesday, these new McDonald's cups. And so I went on Tuesday and got one. Anyways, I went back on Thursday to get another one. They were sold out everywhere. It's like, could you imagine like families being, okay, we'll go this weekend and get one, but they had no choice or no chance to get it, and then they're $150 on eBay. It's like it's
a wild time, man. People know that like the FOMO is insane. I mean, it really is, and I mean, even we know how it is. The first week or so when like those boo buckets come out from McDonald's, it's a nightmare. You wait a couple days, it gets a little bit easier, but then all of a sudden, before you know it, if you don't find that window between it's mayhem and you can get them. And then if you wait a little bit longer, then it's like, oh no, that promotion's already over.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's tricky.
And it's funny because these things are meant for kids and the kids aren't getting them, you know? Like
that's the thing, right?
Yeah. It's like poor kids, you know, like they, we're like, oh, these were so cool when I was a kid. And these kids are like, well, I wish we had those, you know?
Well, imagine being a kid and like going in to try to get a bucket and all of a sudden they're like, there's none left. And you see a grown up walking out with like 4 of them.
Me with all 4 different colors. I'm like,
they're crying. You're like, oh, see you later.
My
like
guy
that's
took
kind of
a lot
where
of-
it's at right now. And I mean,
Uh-huh.
we talked about this the other day. You go in any toy aisle at Target or Walmart. I walked around there the other day and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like filling my carriage with toys. And I'm looking, I'm like, wait, this is all for me. And I'm like, why is the toy aisle wrestling, Batman, He-Man, Ghostbusters,
Street Sharks? You're showing me
Street
Street
Sharks
Shark.
I just bought.
I was like, what the hell?
The mice from Mars or whatever.
Micro Mice from Mars.
I'm looking around. I'm like, G.I. Joe. I'm like, these are all toys that were out when I was a kid. Why are we like, what kid even knows what Street Sharks is now in 2024?
Yeah, when you showed me a picture of Street Sharks, I was like that blew me away. I was like, I understand Ninja Turtles and stuff like that, but I was like, Street Sharks, that's a little deeper of a cut for them to just
Mice from
release
Mars
like
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was telling you, like,
shocked.
I was telling you when I was a kid, I used to have Biker Mice from Mars, Street Sharks, and the Small Soldiers. I used to have them all fight each other. It was the best World War III ever, you know? Like it was all these Expendables coming together, all fighting, and it's cool to see them coming back. But you know, it's funny to see that like people, grown men like you and me, are more excited than kids.
But that has to be for us, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like you look at these toy aisles, I'm like, this toy aisle looks like the same it did when in 1992.
Yeah.
Now, because I'm like seeing all the same stuff, and not only is it the same properties, but it's exactly the same toy, just upgraded, right? Like those He-Man toys, more or less, like they have that classics line. That looks like the same toy that was on that I bought when I was a kid. These Ghostbusters that I'm looking at right here, these fright features, it's the exact same one that was on the shelf when I was a kid. So it's not even like it's the name and it's got like the new characters in the movie. Like this is literally the same figure, except repackaged 20 something years, 30 years later. They have to be for us. They like nostalgia is such a big thing that I'm like, they know what they're doing. You walk through Target, this is like a brand new thing. We just got done talking about it. Me, Cody, and me, Tabot, Brandon, and someone, I think Christian. You go to Target and there's a talking Krusty the Clown with like a pull string. What kid is buying a evil Krusty the Clown doll in a box with a pull string in 2024? They're not. So that's
in that Mo phone. Yeah, that's made for
the Mo phone.
Well, and it's funny because you know for the last like 10 years they've had like a little section behind the movies for people like us. Now it's like it's the whole toy aisle.
Every aisle. Yeah.
Does your son play with action figures or no?
He doesn't, and it sucks because like when he was born, my first action figure line was He-Man. That was the first action figure line I remember getting. I got Skeletor the first time, fell in love with it, and I just collected those suckers for years and watched the show. I had the show to watch too, so that helped. So when he was born, they kind of released the classic collection, which is basically just the exact same ones I had as a kid, except I think they each had like elbow and knee joints where mine didn't. But they looked exactly the same. So I said, shit, I'm going to start buying him these, and maybe that'll be his first collection of shit. So I was buying them all, waiting for him to get to an age where I could be like, here you go, bud. Yeah. And I did. And he's got in his room, he's got a box full of, there must be 60 He-Man guys in there. Dang. And he never uses it. Like every once in a while, he'd be like, you want to go play He-Man? And like him and I will go. He's got the castle. He's got Snake Mountain. Man. He's got the vehicles. He's got everything. And I'm like, it almost like brings me back to when I was his age and all that shit all on my floor and me having all this stuff. But it's a different. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have the show to kind of direct him on what to do, like who's where, who's bad, who's good. Like he doesn't have that.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So I mean, I could show him the show and see if that does anything, but he's not. He didn't gravitate towards figures like I did.
Well, it's going to be different too because you can show him the show, but his friends aren't going to be watching that show.
Right.
Where like you went to school in the late 80s, early 90s, everybody knew what Ninja Turtles were. Everybody was watching the Ninja Turtles. I I dated a girl who had a kid, and she was like, you know, like the kid was like 13 or whatnot. And like she told me, she was like, yeah, my son never played with toys. But she said it like she was kind of like bragging. And in my mind, I was all like, that poor kid. Like, I
agree.
I could not imagine my childhood without action figures. Like, I loved, those are my favorite things to do when I was a kid, was play with action figures.
Dude, and that's another whole story that we can get into sometime, but 100%. Like, I was so addicted to action figures, addicted to a point where it was like, if I wasn't in school, I was in my room creating like these worlds, or Saturday morning, I'd come out with like my wrestling figures in a ring, and I'd sit down on the floor, start watching cartoons. I would put
your matches together.
Like I would open up the bag, and then I would reach in and I would be like, oh, who drew number 1? And I would have Royal Rumbles. And I would like sneak, and I would do that like every Saturday for hours until wrestling came on at 11, like while I was watching all the cartoons and stuff. And it was just, you know, you started with one line, like I went He-Man, and then I went Ghostbusters, then Turtles. Like you started progressing, and it was crazy how much hours and hours I put into figures, even to a point where then it became, I don't play with them anymore. I buy them to collect them. So my uncle and I would go out and get wrestling figures, and like when I was in high school, and we would just buy them just so I could have them to display. And it never really stopped for me. Like, I mean, I got so much crap here. I'm trying to not get so much of this stuff because it's expensive and I just don't have the space for it anymore. But when all of a sudden you go down a toy aisle and you see a Street Shark, which is actually a line of figures that I always wanted, but my mom never got them for me. So I never owned a Street Shark until right now. So when I saw that on the shelf, I was like, yoink, because this is always a figure that I wanted. And it's, again, an identical replica of what it was back in the day. The only difference is with the date that it says on the foot.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, so it's just wild to see where the world is when it comes to nostalgia, FOMO, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
These popcorn buckets, these McDonald's buckets, they're for kids in theory, but they know what they're doing.
But and it's one of those things where it's like, it's really cool, but I'm also in the back of my mind saying this isn't going to last forever. You know, like I just hope that nostalgia train doesn't end, you know, but you know it's going to, like, it'll go away for, you know, once people are sick of the 90s, that will go away. And then
because after the 90s, what is it though? You know what I mean? Like, what would be the retro thing for a kid of the 2000s? Like, what, like action figures, like specific things, like that all ended.
Yeah, I don't know what toys were like. What the Gamagotchis, or is that later, or was that in the 90s as well? It was like, they were like the pets or whatever. They were like little, they were like an egg.
Yeah, that was probably late 90s, early 2000s. Like I was probably already like done high school when those came out.
Yeah. So like what, in like 10 years, what fidget spinners are going to be the thing?
Yeah, Pogs.
They're going to make a fidget spinner movie or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happens, because I feel like the 80s and 90s is kind of like the last decades of like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's just wild. But anyway, as we get back to our list, we'll talk about something that I'll throw it out there now. Speaking of 90s and doing specific things that, you know, I think they really tried to catch, you know, what was popular at the time. And that's Theodore Rex, which, what a wild movie this is. Like, you look at this and you say, what a piece of shit this thing is. But it's actually really cool, because you're basically taking the show The Dinosaurs and you're adding humans in it, like Whoopi Goldberg, and making a movie about a buddy cop movie where
dinosaurs are
about the
alienation.
Right?
Yeah, it's
right.
It's like a family version of that, but with dinosaurs. You know, dinosaurs are running around the state. Dude, the set design was amazing in this. Like the city they created for this, it was awesome.
Nobody talks about this movie ever.
No. And it was, I was actually talking to Derek from Peer Hangout about this. He said he remembers seeing this in theaters, and I remember they really wanted, this was doing really bad, like, I don't know, test screening or whatever. So they almost put this straight to video, but then they ended up giving it like a small run in theaters. And I think it's because like Whoopi Goldberg was like red hot, and she had like some kind of like something in her contract to say that it couldn't go to direct. So
this was what,
video.
the follow up to like Sister Act?
Yeah. So yeah.
Her? And then obviously you had shows like, Jurassic Park came out a couple years before dinosaurs were hot. You had that show Dinosaurs. This really feels like they used the same designer, it seems like. Well, but didn't Henson do the show?
Henson did the show, yeah.
I don't know who did this, but I mean, they looked great. And what was really cool about this, and it really, a lot of it has to do very similar. It has a similar vibe as Alienation, is that, like Cody said, dinosaurs kind of live with humans like it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun as hell, like that crime scene where you just see the dead dinosaur in like the lake.
Yeah,
I know, and it's just like a dead body, but it's just like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And they're all like, the cops are like trying to figure out what happened. They're like, who could have did this, And they go to that like strip club type of thing, or that club, kind of like in The Mask, where the girls are dancing and dancing, and all these different designs of things. That one dinosaur that's like trying to pick up Whoopi, like at the bar. It's fun, man.
Yeah, he had a dog. He had like, for some reason, he had like an obsession with cookies. Remember, he was just like, he loved cookies.
Yeah, it's silly, but it's so bonkers that it like, I had a great time with it. I really
and like
did.
The costumes were so great, so great. Now it's definitely feels like the 90s, and that's not a bad thing at all. Because I absolutely, when I was watching this, I was like, man, I miss stuff like this 100%.
100%. You imagine going to the studio with this idea now. They'd laugh in your face.
Exactly.
And then be like, oh, and by the way, we're going to spend a shit ton of money on practical effects. And we're going to have like all these dinosaurs that we got to build. And people would be like, are you out of your mind? But that's what made it work, because all these dinosaurs had such different looks. Like that scene where they're at the nightclub and you see all the different ones. That one with like the big smile. She's like laughing in his face because he's got that weird smirk going on.
Yeah, it was it was another one thing where it had like that little bit of social commentary where they're like, "Oh no, he's dumb. He can't be a detective," and they kind of hired him to be the buffoon, so he'd mess up the case, kind of thing.
And he's got kind of like a 90s. It's like a T-Rex with kind of like 90s clothes. He's got like Converse All-Stars and baggy jeans and shit.
Yeah. I wonder if this guy's doing cons. I get an 8x10 signed by him.
I mean, imagine if you ever met Whoopi. Like, this is the one I want you to sign right here.
I know, yeah.
You could probably get this pretty damn cheap. And I don't know if this thing's going to hit 4K or anything anytime soon. This seems like pretty forgotten movie, to be honest with you.
It's actually out of print.
Oh, is it?
It is, because I bought this for the stream because I haven't seen it in forever and I wanted to rewatch it, and because it was funny, about 2 years ago I almost bought it, and you could buy it for like $5 anywhere. It was out of print, so I actually bought it for like 15. But I had
that's interesting you say that, because honestly, I saw this probably like a month ago at my thrift store.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was just, this Theodore Rex, not thinking of it. But now that I know it's out of print, I might just grab another copy and then do some kind of giveaway or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because it was one of those things where I bought it for $15 and I had a $4.99 sticker on it. I was like, dang. And it was funny because it's been $4.99 forever.
We have a couple Theodore Rex fans in here. What's up, John Doe? And then Huck's never seen it. Yeah, man, I think it just, I really do recommend it. It's not, there's no masterpiece, but feels like he said, it feels early to mid 90s. Like, that they would even come up with something like this and have like, oh, you're going to be a buddy. Hey, Whoopi, you're going to be a buddy cop with a rubber dinosaur. And her be like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
Like, it just is super weird. But yeah, I had to bring that up. Now, as we get into our list, we still have another 1, 2, 3, 4, another 5 left. This next one we can kind of talk about together, because we're going to throw 3 movies in, or maybe more than 3 in one category, because they all kind of have a similar vibe, but they're worth talking about. And that's the movie when it has to do with a cop and he's teamed up with a dog, which seemed like that was a big thing in the 90s, is to put him with a dog. And the couple that we talked about were, I have one right here for Turner and Hooch. I do have Top Dog with Chuck Norris on VHS and DVD, but I'm like, before we went with live, I'm staring at my DVDs and I say, I need to be more organized because I cannot find Top Dog anywhere. I'm going to probably get it as soon as the stream's over. But that's another one. And then the third one, I was today years old when I found out it had sequels. And
There's K9 with Jim Belushi and the dog. Yeah, there's 3 of them. They made 3 of them.
So it's just an interesting concept of the dog situation. Now, also too, was this around the time where some of these came out when like Sandlot came out? Like why everything was with dogs?
Yeah, so I think it was Turner and Hooch really kicked it off in the 80s, and then they just kind of went with that. You know, and same with like the whole buddy cop thing was very popular. And I think by the 90s is when they're like, okay, we've seen all the buddy cop movies, so now we got to start throwing this in there and throwing that in there. They're like, what about dogs? Dogs are like that. Like I'm sure there's something out there. I'm sure there's a buddy cop movie with a chimpanzee or something. I'm sure there is somewhere out there. Actually, I think there's what's his name? Didn't he do a movie with a chimpanzee? Clint Eastwood.
Did
I think he like back in the 70s or something. Yeah, but I'm sure there's all kinds of other things out there. But yeah, they're good movies, and I think the Fonz was supposed to direct Turner and Hooch, but there's that story that Tom Hanks got him fired, and there's like nobody knows why though he got him fired, and it's hard to think about Tom Hanks getting somebody fired,
right? And
yeah.
I mean, this wasn't even like. He wasn't even like super famous Tom Hanks here, was he? Like he was famous enough, but like, he wasn't like Forrest Gump Tom Hanks.
No, he was comedy famous or 80s famous, as I like to call him. Like, or so I love Tom Hanks, but I call his 80s and stuff like before he went to like the like the prestige movies. I used to call him Fun Hanks. So,
oh wow! So they said Every Which Way But Loose is a Clint Eastwood movie with an orangutan.
Yeah. And it's funny to think about him doing a movie with that.
I have like a lot of Clint Eastwood collection box sets up here. I wonder if that's even in there. I have never seen that.
It should be.
Wow. I've never seen any of those movies.
Don't you? I just picture like a buddy cop movie with like a monkey, and it's like called Going Bananas or something. You know, like that's something that would be. It
seem like it would have been a perfect thing for them to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it could very well be out there. We just missed it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's
a bunch
of these. Yeah, straight to DVD. Or
look at this. Danny DeVito and Tony Danza did one called Going Ape.
Going Apes. Okay, I feel like I remember the poster for that. Yeah,
that is funny. Tony Danza too. That's perfect. That must be funny, man. Mm-hmm. But out of these, like again, I've never seen Canine. I don't think I've ever seen that. I'm trying to think like if I think Turner Hooch are probably my favorite, but I don't. Now I'm getting them all confused. Which one is which? I'm wishing I could find that.
Well, see, and the thing about Canine is like, especially when it comes to these dogs movies or these dog movies, cop movies, they're for families, but they're like chasing after drug dealers and trying to find like these big contraband of like cocaine and stuff. So it's like they were still dark. And like, spoiler alert, if you've seen Turner and Hooch, like like Turner gets shot at, or Hooch gets shot at the end and he dies. And I know what's his name said that was, he wished that they would have changed that ending, because I guess Turner Hooch didn't do well in theaters, but it did well on the video market.
Now, what year did Top Dog come out? Let me see here.
Top Dog was like 95.
95. Do you think like the resurgence of like the buddy cop movies with the dogs had to do with like things like Beethoven or anything like that being so popular back then?
Oh, probably like, yeah, dude. You had Beethoven, you had a Homeward Bound. Like dog movies were hitting at that time, and I watched every single one of them and loved them all. Like, I mean, like I low-key love dog movies. Even now, like if a dog movie comes out, I will go see it. But that's just something I grew up liking. So if they have like the Dog's Journey, I go and see it. Sometimes
as a kid, I loved it. I mean, I think when I was looking for Top Dog before we went live, I was going through. I was like, I checked my Chuck Norris section. It's not there.
Yeah.
I said, oh, maybe it's down in my dog movie section. I'm like Beethoven, King, like what's the
Bingo? Yeah, Bingo.
I love Bingo,
dude. And they did like a remake to Lassie, and I remember loving that remake.
Oh yeah,
like 95. Yeah. Oh, Benji, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen the Lassie one, but wasn't there a big star in that? Who was the kid?
In what? Oh, Lassie.
The Lassie one. Was it a big name actor or no?
I don't remember. It's been a long time. I think just animal movies in general were hitting, like, because Free Willy was a big hit. So maybe Free Willy kind of like Beethoven and Free Willy was like, all right, let's get all these animals in here.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you had the Homeward Bound was always a great one.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad it was a time where they like I'm glad it hit when it did, because that was when it was CGI heavy, or not when CGI was coming in. So I'm glad that that era happened with real animals, where now it would be all CGI.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. But yeah, that's the whole dog craze. So if you want to get your fix on buddy cop movies with dogs, you got a bunch to choose from, man. You got Chuck Norris, you got Tom Hanks, you got Belushi. So again, pick one, check them out. And those kind of all combined into one on our list here.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to talk about I'll talk about this one because I know a couple people brought it up. Dead Heat, which is with Joe Piscopo, which already there. He's bonkers in himself. Treat Williams, and this kind of is on the line of like horror adjacent for sure. Out of all these, it's kind of more of like the horror stuff. It's what makes this so different. On the cover, it looks like any old buddy cop movie with two guys, but the difference is one of these guys is basically like a zombie. So now you've got a guy, and his partner now has become like he's basically dead. So, and the effects in this are really, really good. And this is a 4K that came out from Vinegar Syndrome, and I do have the slip cover over there, but it doesn't have the image of this classic image on it. But this is a fun as hell movie that not enough people I think have seen. So to me, this is a sleeper hit. It's super cool. Like I said, it's different. It's bonkers. And it's definitely one that I think people have to check out if they haven't. That's Dead Heat. Now, Cody, you've seen this one?
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah. Isn't Vincent Price in it? I haven't seen it in a while, but isn't Vincent Price in it?
I think if he is, yes, he is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. It's such a good movie. And you forget how many great movies that Treat Williams was in. Like he was in so many like low-key bangers. Like when we were talking about the Substitute movies on our last episode, it's like, dude, he carried the whole Substitute franchise from 2 to 4 or whatnot. And it's like, you kind of forget about that. And me, when I think about, the Substitute, I think of Treat Williams in the first one, even though he's not even in the first one. It's like, in my mind, it's him doing what's in the first one, but it's definitely a good movie. And it's great that they put like someone like Joe Piscopo in there. Like he's from Saturday Night Live. So like, let's put him in something like this. I feel like I haven't seen him in anything recently though. Like, what is that guy doing?
The only other thing the last thing I really remember him in was Sidekicks. I mean, that's really the last thing. But speaking of people, we were talking about Vinegar Syndrome earlier. I don't know the status of this. Is it still around? I don't know, but this is definitely one to grab if you see it on the sale. If it's still available and you've never seen it, I 100% think this is one that a lot of people are sleeping on that maybe haven't seen it, that will be like, oh my God, this is a hidden gem I wish I saw years ago.
It's a good movie. I actually saw it later in life too. When I was in film school, there was this girl that would always talk about Dead Heat. So I think for a while, like me and my friend were like, okay, this girl's just making this movie up. And then we actually rented it and it was fun as hell.
Yeah, it looks great on 4K as well. But Perry Fans is going bananas is an 87 Dom DeLuise and Jimmy Walker Save a Chip fans.
Of course it is.
But yeah, everybody in here is saying they're big fans of Dead Heat. Which I knew that would definitely be a fan favorite on this list. But yeah, I mean, we got a couple more. We've got 3 more here. I don't know if you know offhand which ones we still got, and if you want to bring it up.
Let's do the surprise. Let's go back to some Jim Henson, and this is probably the newest movie on here.
Holy shit, man! This is crazy.
Jim Henson's son did this, and I remember. So my grandma loves everything that Melissa McCarthy does. So I took her to go see this, and she loved it. But I was just kind of like, wow, this is a movie that would have been made in the 90s. So it's really cool that they made it now. But I don't think, like even it got a greenlit sequel, I don't think it'd be a movie that would do well now. Even though it was just made like I think 2000 or 2018 or something, and that's going to be Happy Time Murders.
Dude, I just saw this recently when we were making this list. I was online searching for different things, and I was trying to figure out like other buddy cop movies that had to do with a person and like something else, like either an animal or like an alien or a zombie or whatever it may be. And this came up, and I was like, a cop and a Muppet. Like I never heard of this, and it's Melissa McCarthy. Like, how did this kind of slip by me? Like, this is weird. And then you said, yeah, dude, I think you'll like it. So I snagged the Blu-ray for the show so I could watch it and see if I think it should make the list. And dude, I don't know why I have never heard of this movie. Like, how did this come out and not be like everywhere and everybody talking about it? This thing is on the same level as like Team America from back in the early 2000s. This thing is freaking bonkers, dude. Like, I could not believe when I was watching this that I'm like, why have I never heard about this? And why does nobody ever talk about this movie? This movie only came out a couple of years ago, and I've never even heard of it. What the hell happened with this thing?
So this was one of those. This is a good example of one of those movies that everybody hyped up. Like they're like, like people were excited that it was coming out, but no one went and saw it, and then it just kind of died. Like people get very excited about these movies, and then they don't go see them, and then that's what happens. They just kind of get buried. But yeah, I saw a lot in theaters. I took my grandma to see it. We had a good time.
You took your grandmother to see this?
Yeah,
Bro.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. So like during like whenever Charlie Day or Melissa McCarthy has a new movie, I take her to go see them. And this was one she wanted to see.
What did she say? Because I was uncomfortable watching it by myself here at the house. What did she thought?
She thought it was hilarious, but you got to understand, she took me to go see American Pie when I was 10, and she was laughing louder than anybody in the theater,
Dude, these are puppets doing bad things to each other.
I know. Yeah, it's like, I haven't seen it
like
forever.
A porno with puppets, basically. And I'm like, what the fuck is there? Like the puppets going to like the porn shop, and they're like behind that curtain, and they're like milking the cow or whatever. I'm like, this thing is insanity. Yeah. And then when he's in his office and the chick comes in and he's like, he hooks up with her and then he's like spraying everywhere. And like, well, I was like, what the fuck is this damn thing?
Isn't there like is it him he used to be on a TV show in the 90s or something, or in the 80s? I forgot. There was a character that they were trying to find that was on a TV show.
Yes.
Before he gets killed. Yeah. Yeah,
this is insane. This is one of the wackiest, bonkers movies I think I've ever seen in my whole life.
I wonder if Justin's seen it.
Dude, he would go nuts for this.
Yeah.
But no one's ever talked. I've never even heard of this. When I saw this pop up on a list, I go, the hell is this shit? I never even once heard anything about this movie, and it's one of the most bonkers things I think I've ever seen in my life. And it says on the thing, "No Sesame, all street" is the quote. And that's like 100% accurate. Now, this is not a movie I would normally recommend, I think.
But
I was so taken back by this. Like this is basically South Park humor with Muppets that Jim Henson's son did. With Melissa McCarthy in it and some other big name actors that you guys would all know thrown in the mix of this. And I don't even know how this thing got made. And like, it's rated R. Like, can they get away with anything? Cause it's not real people. Like
yeah, probably. They're like, all right, do whatever you want. It's not a real person.
I don't know, man. It was crazy, but it was fun to see. Like, again, it goes back to the whole thing of like, it's a real world and Muppets exist in the real world. So you're a human or you're like a Muppet, basically. And
there's like a crackhead Muppet running around the street. It's just it's funny, man.
It was funny. So this is the newest movie on this list, and as soon as I watched it, I'm like, yep, this is gonna be on it because like it's insanity. It
was so funny. I totally forgot about the movie, and you're like, hey, have you ever heard of this movie? And I was like, this would fit perfectly on here. But yeah, well, when you asked me, have you heard of this? I kind of thought you were kidding at first. I was like, you've never seen Happy Time Murders, but yeah. But it was one of those things that when they dropped the trailer, people went nuts for, but nobody went and saw it. And then that was it.
Oh, what's up, Brian? He said, Happy Time Murders is a wild ride. Hated by pretty much every critic. Now, let me see a poll in here really quick. I'm going to get a couple questions in that I see popping up. Let me know, who has not seen this or who has not heard of this movie before? I'm just curious because I literally hadn't even heard of it before. But Dino, yes, we did talk about Dead Heat as well. People seem to love that one. But yeah, like, I don't know why, if I was on a ship by myself with this, but I never ever heard anybody mention it. I never saw a trailer. I never even heard the name. I never knew there was a movie with Muppets and humans interacting together besides the Muppet movie. Like, I didn't know that anything exists with this. So I grew up with Muppets and Sesame Street, refused to watch it. It definitely takes it to another level. And I'm I grew up a huge Sesame Street and Muppets fan as well. But it's interesting. And
the thing that I do like about it is that it's somebody who actually cares about that stuff who did it. Like, like Jim Henson's son really cares about Muppets and stuff like this, but he just wanted to do something different. And he did that. So it's not like it's somebody who just off the streets did it. It's somebody who actually really does care about these puppets and Muppets kind of thing. So
Huck said he's seen it at Big Lots, but never grabbed it.
That's when I went to go see it, I don't think there's many people in the theater, and I saw it, I think, pretty much opening weekend. But
you know what other movie like that reminds me of that when it comes to how bad it did? Like Grandma's Boy. I saw that in the theaters, and my friend and I were literally the only two people in the theater, and we're like dying laughing. We're like, why is nobody talking about this movie?
And that
movie was a bomb. And then when it came out on physical media, it became a classic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm surprised not many more people talk about this damn thing.
I think it's because just the time it came out, and it was like 2018 through 2019. People just didn't want to see it, and they don't want to see it yet. But maybe get more eyes on it. You know what? If it gets a release from like Vinegar Syndrome, it'll get more eyes on it. Kind of thing.
Yeah. Brian said that what even makes it crazier is that it was Henson's son. Yeah. So like that's what you said, and I'm trying to see what company had put this out. Universal. But it just also doesn't seem like a movie that they would put out in this day and age either. That's what's crazy. Like it just doesn't seem like a movie that would even be greenlit at this point.
That's why it's so cool that like a big studio, they're like, let's take a chance on this. Let's do it. And they did, and of course it missed. So they're not going to take that. They're not going to take that chance again or take that shot. So
I do think if people go out and get this and it has a little resurgence on physical media or something like that, because I do really think that this could be something that could be considered a cult classic. It reminded me of a movie, Meet the Feebles, that came out back in the day, where they kind of took these puppets and Muppets and made them do things that had never been done with that kind of stuff before. So Meet the Feebles is a classic, movie that people want to this day to get re-released, and this kind of was at the same level. And I'm telling you, there's not many times I put something on and was like completely blown away. Not that I'm saying this is a masterpiece, but blown away in the sense that I'm like, this seems like a movie that every person online would be talking about. And I never even heard of it. That's kind of why I was blown away, because I was putting on something that I feel like would be considered a cult classic from a couple of years ago that I've never even heard anybody mention, which is crazy. Yeah, Peter Jackson is Meet the Feebles.
Yeah, I've never seen that, but it looks good. Meet the Feebles. Yeah.
What's up, Mikara? I actually was in one of the only people that don't kind of like Super Beast though. Like when I bought that, I watched that a lot. I used to think that was pretty fun.
It's a cartoon, right? Rob Zombie cartoon.
I always found it fun though. I think you would actually really like it. Running Scared's a good one, for sure, from the 80s. It didn't make our list, but it was one I was considering for sure. A little prior action. But we've got two on the list. I'm going to see which one I should pull up here. All right, I'll pull this one. I'll save this one for last. So this is a movie, and I'm going to be, I think you might be in the same boat as me. I never heard about this movie until not even a year ago. I went and met up with a buddy of mine who's you can follow him on Instagram. He's got a great account. He's called Video Interiors. And I met up with him in Connecticut. We went to the archive and stuff, and we went to lunch. And we were talking about movies and stuff. And him and his buddy brought up this movie because they know I'm such a big Karate Kid fan. I'm like, I never saw that. They're like, what? You never saw that? And I was like, no. And like, yeah, not many people have, but they're like, it's unbelievable. It's freaking bonkers, man. Buddy cop movie, and it's Collision Course with Pat Morita and Jay Leno.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as they were explaining the movie to me, they showed me a clip on YouTube. I immediately went online and tried to find this thing on physical media. It's only got a DVD. It's an HBO video DVD. You know how that works. I mean, Jesus, it took Hitcher long enough to get some physical media release. I don't know if we're ever going to see this again. To me, this seems like it could be a Kino title someday, but it could easily be stuck on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
But man, this thing is wild. Jay Leno and Pat Morita is insane enough. And it's a bonkers flick, man. It really is. And I don't know how it doesn't have more love than it does. Now, what did you not know about this until I brought it up to you?
No, yeah. So I remember you brought it up a while ago. Like, I think when you first found out about it, you posted something about it. And I was like, I have never even heard of that movie. But it's funny because like I was posting about the show and I used a picture of them and said rad dudes, and people were, or some, I think it was Pure Hangout was like, dude, I remember that being on HBO and whatnot. I've never even come across that. And to see Jay Leno in it, Jay Leno wasn't bad as like an action kind of star. Like, I feel like if he, you know, he could have gone a different way, kind of like Billy Crystal. Like he could have been an action star, or, you know, if he went that route, but he didn't. So it's a good movie. I liked it.
Yeah, it's fun as hell. I mean, they're totally like opposites. Is Dino asked, is this the one where they're running around Hollywood? I think it is. There's a lot of great action in it, and there's some action in it that is so far-fetched it just blows my mind, right? Like that this movie came out, and this was like 2004 or something like that. This came out like early 2000s. It feels, I think it felt older than that. Is it, or is it 90? Oh, no.
That is like 89.
89.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wow. I was like, no, I was like, Jay Leno.
Oh, you know what it is? This came out on DVD back then. Sorry. Yeah, 89. And I didn't have HBO growing up, so that's probably exactly why I didn't see this. I don't know if this even had a theater release at all.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And it's on HBO Max because I recently watched it on there, and it's a terrible, like, it's like, you know, like the little square, it looks terrible on there. So they even like upgrade it.
Not good on it. Yeah. But I think you can probably, like, when I bought this after I was done talking to my buddy about it, I think I got it for a decent price. Like, I didn't pay like $30 for this. Mm-hmm. So I think it's still out there, but it's one of those ones, again, I don't know if we'd ever see this again. It would be cool if we did, but this is a fun movie. That I don't think enough people have really got it.
And I think it would be awesome, like if Jay Leno ever did cons or something, I'd definitely get like a one sheet.
Oh yeah,
have him sign it. I'm sure he'd probably see it and be like, oh okay, you know, start talking about it, or he'd be like, oh, I hate that movie. But I can't see him not liking it. I don't know why. I feel like because I think that's his only movie, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And Jackson Jack, no, the DVD came out in 2004. The movie was 89, and it's called Collision Course. But the DVD didn't look terrible as far as the quality. I mean, it didn't look great, but it didn't look awful. So yeah, it's got a great cast. And I think it's definitely one people should check out. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure you can probably see it. I think you can watch it on YouTube, I think.
Yeah. And
even if you wanted to just check out, you could just type in Collision Course, you know, car death scene or something like that, because there's a scene in this movie that's like, you know, it's what kind of put this on the map as like a cult hit.
Yeah. Oh,
because it's out of control.
Yeah. Well, Ernie Hudson's in it too, right?
Sarandon.
Yeah, you got Ernie Hudson, you got Chris Sarandon as the bad guy. like the corrupt, like a he's not mayor, but he's like a businessman. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it was like there's some heavy hitters in there for sure.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that one is one that, you know, we had to talk about just because of the odd couple that this is, and just the action in this is really cool. So I would highly recommend you guys checking this one out.
It kind of reminds me of, and I don't know why I just happened to think about this now, like the movie The Hard Way with
you know what, that's a good recommendation too for like a
another recommendation. Yeah, that's actually my favorite Michael J. Fox movie. And I totally forgot about that until just right now. I was like, man, that's a good movie. And then do you remember they kind of remade The Hard Way later on with Josh Hartnett and
did they?
And Harrison Ford? It was called Hollywood Homicide. Do you remember that?
Huh. I don't remember that movie.
It's kind of like the same concept. It was like early 2000s. One of those movies that just didn't hit, you know.
The Hard Way is a Kino Blu-ray.
Yeah.
If anybody needs it. Yeah.
Great movie. Love the movie. Yeah.
Michael J. Fox buddy cop movie. Very, very good. And again, that was 9 of our picks, and we've got one more, which is another one that not many people know.
And this is my second favorite on this list.
This is out of control, man. And this this is only got a VHS, and it's called A Gnome Named Norm. It's also got an alternate title called Oddworld. And it's a buddy cop movie with a freaking little gnome thing. And Anthony Michael Hall. I mean, I can't get a good picture of it, but look at this thing.
Yeah. Dude, so I remember when this first came out, my grandma rented it for me and I liked it. And then as I got older, I kept confusing it with Munchies. And then so I rewatched it for this stream, and dude, it is great. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, hilarious. The effects were nice. I think the only reason why it wasn't a hit because he really wasn't that cute. He just looked like a small old man. He was kind of scary at times, you know.
He kind of looked like if Roddy McDowell like shrunk into like a little thing, like kind of like he kept making his face, and I'm like, it kind of reminds me of like Roddy McDowell or something like that. But
dude, there's a scene where he's like he's on the beach and there's a girl with like big boobs and he's like pukas. Whatever. I was just
it's you can stream this, I think.
Yeah.
And
yes. Okay. That's another thing. I streamed this on Tubi and it looks excellent on Tubi. So somebody somewhere has upgraded it. So this is coming sometime. It's ready. It looked phenomenal on Tubi.
I would love to see what Anthony Michael Hall's face was if you plop a one sheet in front of him at a convention and tell him to sign.
and it was directed by Stan Winston.
Dude, it is a fun as hell movie, and it just screams, you know, the time frame. This was, again, I gotta get these right.
So it was filmed in 88 and then shelved and released in theaters in 1992, and then it was brought to VHS in 94. So it had a weird, I don't know what the issue was with it. And like I said, it was directed by, you know, Stan Winston himself. That's why the effects look so good on him. But it's a good movie. It's a funny movie, and it has what's his name as the villain. I forgot his name, Czar. I forgot his name, but he's from Maniac Cop. He's like one of the bad guys.
Oh yeah. With the this is the one.
The big chin. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I watched so much later. He's the guy with the big chin. When I saw that and I'm like watching him, I go, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
like that's like, I don't know. Like, that can't be his real face.
It is his real face. Yeah, that's his real face, man.
Like when I watched it from the other thing, I always like, you know, I just assumed it was for the movie.
Yeah, he's always had a big face like that. I don't know if he started doing plastic surgery or if it's like he was born that way, but he's always had kind of a bigger face. Like when he was in was it Tango and Cash he's in? Like in Tango and Cash, he had big.
I mean, you look at him and you're like, this guy screams villain all day.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
day.
Yeah.
He looks like someone out of Bond or whatever.
Yeah.
But guys, look up Oddworld or a gnome
A
named
gnome named
Norm.
Norm.
Like the whole idea that they came to the table and said, we're going to take this, like it almost looked like something they picked out of like Dark Crystal.
Uh-huh.
And they told Anthony Michael Hall, like, yo, we're going to be a buddy cop movie and you're going to team up with this little gnome. And the thing is, it's like, it's not for kids either. Like we talked about before, you know, this looks like it's PG. It's PG. Like, hey, this is for kids, but like, there's a scene with Norm like naked, like, like standing on the table or whatever. Like,
and the girl cop comes in and she's like, oh, you know.
And then there's like that. What makes me even laugh is like he's getting interrogated or whatever by the cop or somebody, and the guy like freaking punches him in the face,
slaps him, and he's gonna kill him too. He's gonna shoot him. And then there's a scene where
he's like, you, and the guy's like, whack, and it just he takes it and beats the shit out of it. And
then there's a scene where a guy gets like shot and he falls to his death off the building. It's like, dang.
Oh my god.
Like, yeah, it was a good movie. I really like that movie. I had a good time with it.
Oh, dude, PG in the 80s was a wicked sliding scale, CMC, 100%. Like a lot of the stuff we talked about today, that was PG was even a sliding scale for sure. But he definitely looks like a Gelfling, 100% looks like a Gelfling.
He's walking down the beach to Lowrider. It's like,
it is freaking wild that this movie even exists. Like the whole concept of it still boggles my mind. Like it's another one of those movies, like we said with a lot of these movies, where what were they thinking bringing this to the table and being like, I know, can we do this? And they're like, yeah, that sounds good. It sounds like a good idea.
They even have that guy. You remember he has like the briefcase and he blows up in the park. It's like it just blows up. It's like, dang, it's definitely a movie you need to check out.
Well, I'm glad that you liked it so much.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Like this, if I would have seen this as a kid, which I didn't, this would have probably been on a lot repeat.
Yeah, see, and it's a movie I rented once when I was a kid and I really enjoyed it. And then it was one of those movies that like I would always forget about, and when I did think about it, I would confuse it with the Munchies series kind of thing.
When I watched it for the first time, which was a couple of years ago, as I was watching it, I like him, the little gnome. I'm like, man, I remember seeing this. Like it almost like brought back like flashbacks of me watching this as a kid. But you're right. I think this would be a friggin' interesting VSU or some shit like to put out.
And the spit was so gross when they're like spitting on when they do this the shaking. I was like, oh.
And you know what? I've never seen this, but I was reading about it online. It's called Loose Cannons in 1990. Gene Hackman, Dan Aykroyd. I saw that on I was looking up a bunch of stuff and that kept coming up. So it is definitely one I want to check out. The poster's pretty cool too, with like Aykroyd and Hackman with like the guns and stuff. So it's got that same kind of buddy cop pose that are on a lot of these movies. Let me see. Jackson Jack was up. He said, what's the buddy cop movie where the male alien gets pregnant? It's not Alien. The buddy cop movie with an alien with a male. It's not Alien Nation, is it? We talked about that earlier, but I don't remember him getting pregnant.
Neither do I.
Oh, it is. It is.
Oh, is it?
Or was that part of the show? I don't remember him getting pregnant.
Neither do I, honestly.
What up, Fotch?
Hachi.
What up, man? Yeah, Alien Nation. We talked about that earlier. Very, very, very good one. I don't know why I don't remember him getting.
Neither do I.
Interesting. Yes, we did mention Cop and a Half. That was filmed right where you were. That's cool, man.
It's funny because there is a filming locations from I can't remember who, like Tampa J, and I remember meeting Tampa J and telling him, I was like, "Hey, man, because I haven't seen many of his stuff, but I found him because of his Cop and a Half video," and he was like, "Dude, thank you so much. That was one of my favorite movies." He said the video didn't do well because just nobody knows the movie. But yes, I definitely recommend people seeing that one.
I'm gonna have to get Loose Cannons. If everybody's saying it's good.
Oh, Stakeout.
Wow, Jamie. I'm totally, I don't know what the hell I'm thinking of then.
Jamie saw every good movie in theaters. Like, I swear I can name anything. She's like, I saw that in theaters. It's like, dang. She saw all the good stuff, man.
The Hidden is actually a very good buddy cop kind of movie as well. If you guys haven't seen that one, I would say, is it considered a buddy cop movie? I mean, it involves cops, but again, like I also think that not all buddy cop movies have to be comedy. But you know, it does bring in the alien aspect as well. Look at this Stakeout. Yeah, I get that. Nighthawks, Enemy Mine.
Do you remember Will Smith had a movie recently? Not recently, but maybe
yes. What was that called with like an alien guy? He was like glowing or something.
Yeah, it was like it was a Netflix movie, and I remember they like announced a sequel right away, and then it just never happened. Like I want to call it like Stardust or something weird like that, or Glow or something weird. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but it was like him and like a monster. There's like fairies running around. It was actually Bright. Yes, that's it. I actually liked it.
Bright. I thought it was pretty good. I only saw it that one time, but I remember it being pretty cool looking. Yeah. CMC. We mentioned Running Scared as like an alternate, like just a shout out, but didn't make the 10. But I've never seen Dead Hit.
I haven't even heard of it. We talked about Dead Heat.
I can tell you. Oh, maybe that's what he means because I think that was an 88. I could show you the list right now. So we said the ones that made the list were Norm the Gnome, Collision Course, Happy Time Murders, Dead Heat, Turner and Hooch, but that also included K9 with Chuck Norris and K9 with Belushi and Top Dog with Chuck Norris. So it was kind of like the dog cop movies. Theodore Rex, Cop and a Half, Alien Nation,
and then
White Chicks, and Stop My Mom Will Shoot. So those are the ones that made the list, the 10, and then we gave a lot of shout outs at the beginning of ones that didn't make the list, but you know, we definitely wanted to add to the list. I mean, I don't know, because Atkins kind of is like a one-man show kind of on that. I mean, there's cops around. But yeah, like these are just one of the ones, and Adam, what's up, man? That we want to talk about because it's like I said, the funniest thing is when you take like these two characters that are complete oddball, some of them aren't even human, right? And that's what the funny thing was about this, is that when you dig into this genre that was super popular in the 80s and 90s especially, and then they started to kind of go a little bit off the walls because they knew the genre was a hit. They started grabbing other things like, oh, well, Dark Crystal was popular, so let's make a buddy cop movie with a thing that looks like the, and then that, hey, that movie, that show Dinosaurs is really popular on TGIF, or let's take that character and we'll put him with Whoopi Goldberg because she just did Sister Act, and we'll make a buddy cop movie. Like, that's what was so wild about this time. And I think it's definitely a genre that it's still here and there you see stuff. Like we said, 21 Jump Street was one that they still kind of play with a little bit, but not to this extent where it gets so off the walls like this. But I definitely think not masterpieces, but I would recommend every single one of these.
Yeah, they're fun. They're all fun movies.
Super fun. Yeah, Jackson Jack. We talk about that at the beginning if you go back and check it out. But yeah, I mean, I would recommend every one of these movies. I would even recommend all the shout outs that we gave on other ones. It's just a fun genre. And it was cool to talk about this with you, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I see CMC talking about Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon is one of the greatest buddy cop movies, but if this was a normal buddy cop movie, that would have been on the list, but we were trying to stay away from the more well-known movies. And that's why we kept that off the list, and we have, a gnome named Norm instead.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. Like we said earlier when we started this thing, if we really wanted to talk about best buddy cop movies, like we could have literally been here all night long because there's so many and there's so many good ones. But we were like, let's take a different avenue and talk about ones that maybe nobody talks about because they're so weird. Maybe they got buried in like film history and nobody ever talks about those. So hopefully people that are watching this got a couple that they wrote down. They said, shit, I've never heard of this movie. I'm going to check it out because even me, like I said, I doing this list, I found one that I had never seen before. Just trying to make this top 10 list, and I was actually pretty surprised with it. So I'm assuming if I had to guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, I could say in my head there could be 4 or 5 on here that I don't think a lot of people have probably seen.
And
you get other ones like Rush Hours were big at that in the early 2000s and stuff too.
And like this was like an honorable mention just because it was on our list the whole time until like today. We decided to take it off and add something like White Chicks to it because yes, this is a great like buddy cop oddball movie, but everybody's seen this movie, so we kind of brushed past it. And I see Jesse brought up Loaded Weapon 1. We actually were going to talk about that in our honorable mentions. It just didn't make the list, but that is a great buddy cop movie. It's my favorite spoof movie, so guys, go check it out. It's hilarious. Wish they would have made sequels.
Yeah, there's so many out there. So here's an interesting thing. I've never seen this movie, but they filmed this right outside my work, and it took up I was working in the city at the time, and we had to park in all these weird spots because they were running around filming this R.I.P.D. movie. And
I'm surprised
I never went to see it. That was Ryan Reynolds was in it.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon.
And we would see the car going up and down the street all day. And I remember saying to myself, I can't wait to check this out. Or, I'm going to try to see if I can go be an extra or whatever. Never happened, but I actually never ended up going to check it out. All I remember is seeing a trailer and the thing, this car, riding on buildings and shit or something like that. And
yeah,
I've never seen it actually.
Yeah. It was a lot like a Men in Black movie, but with dead people or
which again, Men in Black could be a great buddy cop movie, but
exactly, yeah.
Very well known.
Yeah.
Oh, I have never seen this one.
No, I did see there is a movie that Andrew Dice Clay did that I want to see, and I can't remember what it's called. A Ferrari something.
There was one he did that was really popular. What the heck was it? I forget the name. Someone who would know. There's a big Dice Clay one. I didn't know there was a sequel.
Yeah, it just came out.
With Reynolds or no?
No, it was straight to DVD. It was so Reynolds wasn't in it, Kevin Bacon wasn't in it, and neither was I can't think of his name. The dude.
People still talking about the
Jeff Bridges
release.
Yeah.
Ford Fairlane? What? People keep saying that.
Oh, Ford. I think that's what it's called. It's Ford Fairlane.
Oh.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for checking this out. Hit that like button if you haven't. Again, we try to do the Rad Dudes every other month. It's hard. I don't even remember what the last one we did was.
It's been a while. It's been hard. Both of our schedules have been super busy.
School one.
Yeah, school one. So if you guys haven't seen that one, it wasn't live, but it was a really good episode, a really good pre-recorded episode where we were there with the movie punks, and we talk about high school thrillers, not even high school thrillers, just school thrillers.
That's the Dice Clay movie. That's the big one.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I got you. 80s slashers tier. I mean, I'm gonna do that at some point. I actually think Dead Pit and I are supposed to do something like that soon. Actually, I think we're gonna do it very soon. We gotta announce it. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was different. I think it was cool to go back and watch this because, again, like I said, watching these again, I'm like, these are going to be something that might go on rotation a little bit more now. So, and we'll definitely have something cool for you guys coming up because, I mean, again, we got Halloween coming up. We've got Christmas coming up. We like to do all that kind of cool stuff with that. And if you like the Rad Dude stuff, it's got its own playlist on my channel that you can check out all the episodes that we've done. And again, we try to make this a little bit different than the normal content that you might see from both of us. We try to get together and just come out with something a little bit different. And going through some of this, my brain's already racking and to be like, shit, should we do like a 90s kids movies, like where the like a kid was the main character or whatever, like, talking about some of these movies. I'm like, that would be a cool stream with like Dennis the Menace and,
the post
Jack and all this
the post Home Alone. The kids fighting back, post Home Alone stuff.
So let me know if that sounds like a good idea. The post Home Alone, kid movies from that time frame.
Yeah. And I also think I was thinking about this too. I think this might be a cool episode. Like if we talked about like TV shows that got real, like, like talking about like, like those very special episodes where like when you were watching Blossom and like the brother was a drug addict, you're just like, whoa, that was different.
They always had like a disclaimer at the end or before or something like that. Yeah.
And then at the end it'd be like Joey Lawrence sitting on the couch. He's like, if you guys know anybody who's, blah, 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 call this number.
That's actually a
like
great
that.
idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. And you know what else is a pretty cool idea that I was thinking the other day is horror movies that were inspired by like actual events. So like for instance, I posted something about Jeepers Creepers and that Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries, yeah.
Right. So there's like it's a lot of people commented on that, and I was like, huh.
Never
I wonder
knew
how many
about
other
that.
Yeah, I wonder how many more horror movies that were like heavily influenced by like real life, tragedies. Obviously, things like Texas Chainsaw, there's stuff like that. But if there's more like kind of obscure ones that maybe people don't talk about, but
and I figure sometime we're gonna probably do those kids sports movies. I'm sure it's brewing sometime.
100%. Sandlot, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, some heavyweights, like stuff like that. Little Giants.
Special episode by Saved by the Bell with Jesse. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And Will's father coming back and that episode on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or when Carlton gets a gun, like you just never know. All kinds of different episodes.
Now I'm surprised, Jamie. Like we kind of did this last Halloween. So if you go back and check out the Rad Dudes from last Halloween, we kind of did talk about a lot of those Halloween 90s specials from back then. Have I seen Armed and Dangerous? It sounds so familiar.
Who's in it?
Yeah, who's in it?
I don't know why I picture like Leslie Nielsen. Like I don't know why.
I'm looking over here at like my stuff and seeing if anything pops out.
Somebody did mention the Charlie Sheen movie and Clint Eastwood. I remember watching that, but I don't remember it at all.
Oh, John Candy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I have actually.
I don't, and if I have seen it, it hasn't been since a long time ago.
Oh, John Candy and Eugene. No, I don't think I've seen it.
Eugene Levy is awesome. I also think it'd be cool to do like a Saturday morning cartoon episode because I think it'd be cool to do it because Garrett and I, we're the same age, but he is older. And back in like the day when he was watching cartoons was different from when I was watching cartoons. So we'd probably have a couple crossovers, but it would probably be a totally different list for both.
Yeah, we could easily do something like that, like we did with the same thing with TGIF. We kind of did like we went down the roster. I think we did it with Snick.
Yes,
we kind of went through. Maybe going through that. Like I had the whole like after these messages will be right. Like that whole like with all the little thing. Yeah, like I had all that. Was that around when you were doing it?
Yeah, when I was little, I used to love those. Yeah, after the use message the cowboy will be right.
I wonder how long they used that for because I remember like it had to have been.
And I have a video coming out soon, and I totally forgot about this. It'll be later in the month. They actually started a show from one of those bumpers, and it was like this little green monster named Bumper. He had his own show that didn't last long, but it was like claymation, and he like lived underneath a bed, and he had like this cool like Little Richard song when he would sing. I swear, yeah, it was a show. If you want, I swear, it was one of those things where it's like you don't remember unless you see the opening credits, and you're like, I remember this. But yeah, it was called Bumper, I believe. Or his name was Bumper at least, but I can't remember what it was called.
Were you watching shows? See, because I know I'm a couple years older. Were you watching like Captain N, or did that not exist when you were a kid?
That was not around. I know Captain Planet.
So Captain N was basically Captain Nintendo. So it was like a show where like this kid went into Nintendo World.
Oh, that's cool.
And he had like a Letterman jacket on. That was a huge one for me. But it's so funny when you look at. I remember even as a kid, it was one of those things where the characters felt so different than they were in the game that it's like you knew something didn't seem right, but you were kind of like, oh, it's fine. Like Mega Man was like, you talk like this, and I'm thinking to myself, like as a kid, I'm like, Mega Man, like that, I don't wouldn't picture him talking like that. And Simon Belmont from like Simon's Quest was like this like big heavy set guy, and he had like it just didn't feel like I would have imagined these characters to be. It's kind of an interesting show. But Fairy Tale Theater, I do not remember that. I remember it, but I never watched it.
Yeah, that's
Jonathan said Bump in the Night.
Yeah, Bump in the Night. Dude, you guys watch the opening credits. You're going to want to bump through you'll be like, yeah, this is cool. It's a cool show.
Bump in the Night. I'm going to have to check that out.
And yeah, he's like singing like he's Richard, not Richard, Little Richard.
What do you got coming up over on your channel? If you're not following at Dude Who Loves Movies, Cody, what you got coming up?
So I have I should have a video coming out tomorrow. If not, it'll be Sunday morning. But I saw the new Crow movie, and there's going to be a review dropping soon.
Huh? You've been kind of quiet about that.
Yeah.
You haven't said like I didn't even know you saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. I actually saw it opening day. It's like the Thursday before it came out. You
didn't want to tell anybody what you thought, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those things where I actually wanted to think about it before I talk about it. So, but the review will be out hopefully tomorrow morning. I'm still editing it.
That's what I'm doing. As soon as I get off here, I got to edit and make sure I have a video ready for tomorrow morning as well. So, but yeah, man, so definitely go check that out. I got a video coming out tomorrow morning, as long as I can get all my editing done tonight. And it's about Fright Night 2. I think a lot of people, especially physical media lovers, are going to want to watch it because it's got a lot of cool inside info on some stuff, especially with that. So definitely check that out. And man, it's been awesome as always. It seems like a lot of people like these Rad Dude shows. So definitely hit the like buttons, guys. Because these shows usually do pretty good numbers on the channel, like as far as people watching them and stuff. So hit that like button. If you want to share it around, and definitely check out some of these movies we talked about tonight, because I think you guys are going to have some fun with some of these ones. Not masterpieces, but man, if I had to tell you right off the bat, I would say really quick, Alien Nation, Theodore Rex, Dead Heat, Happy Time Murders, Collision Course, A Norm Named Gnome are ones that I'm looking at right now that I'm like, they're friggin' bonkers, and you guys got to check those things out. Very out there, very, very fun, very, sign of the time. So, and guys, yes.
Also, guys, we have a TeePublic store. If you want to buy some rad merch, they have released hats now. So Rad Dudes versus Everybody. You guys can get those.
Get that.
Rad Dudes.
That actually came out really nice, that hat.
It did, yeah.
The logo being so big like that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks nice. I like it for sure. But yeah, guys, there's t-shirts, and you want a magnet, all kinds of stuff, help support the Rad Dudes.
Yeah, you guys, if you check right below the video, you might see some t-shirts kind of popped up. As long as you click them and go to the site, if you don't see a Rad Dudes one, it should be on there. I think we've got we must have at least 3 different Rad Dude shirts, I think.
3 or 4. Yeah, we even have a Rad Chicks shirt for some of the ladies if you want something. And if you guys do get anything, make sure you take pictures and tag us on it when you post it, tag us in it so we know, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys watching this. So
yeah, man. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it definitely lets us know that you guys enjoy what we're doing. And we'd like to do it much, more often. And, the more people that get excited about it, the more that we can find time to do it,
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's like, it is. It's tough for all of us. You can tell by the content that comes out. It's just, this is actually my 3rd day in a row.
Yeah.
doing a show, which is crazy because lately I feel like my content has kind of been a little bit on the lower end because I've been so busy, but you make commitments and all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, they're all on this week. And so, yeah, we did Radpack on Wednesday. I did Dead Pit Vinegar Syndrome last night. and then we did this one tonight, and hopefully I'll have a video out tomorrow morning. So guys, thank you so much for all the support, and definitely go back and check out the playlist for the Rad Dudes if you liked what you heard tonight. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe to Dude Who Loves Movies. Go check out him. And like I said, go back and check out a lot of his stuff, because every time he pops out a video, it's fun as hell. So go back and check his stuff out. And guys, thank you for checking this out. It's Garrett, Born to Be Rad. And like always, stay rad. What do you got, Cody?
Stay nostalgic.
Stay dude.
I don't know. We've never really thought about that. Stay rad. Stay rad. Stay dude.
Stay, dude. Hey,
Stay,
dude.
Yeah. Just stay nostalgic.
See you guys. Thank you.